Hello everyone, welcome to DCU Daily. Oh my goodness, welcome to the end of the week. We are at our final two videos of the week. Obviously, since it is indeed Friday, we are going to be talking about Fancast Friday after this show, but before we get into that, we are obviously going to be talking news, quick hits, and DC. So let's get into all the little bits and pieces that we have for you today. Obviously, the first thing that we have to get into is the news, which unfortunately we have not one but two not great stories to start off with for this final show of the week. Unfortunately, another celebrity has passed away, so we will be talking about that. And then we are going to be going into more a bit of sad talks, mainly for the people involved in this chat because they're sick of talking about it, and that is, of course, more merger talks. Obviously, there's news in regards to the Paramount side, and there's news in regards to the Netflix side, so we are going to be talking about both sides and further get into that, hopefully quickly, so people don't have to hear about it too much. And then we got MovieTalk Madness. We got a bunch of trailers for you today. We have a little bit in regards to that Ben Solo movie that never happened, or might still happen, who knows, it's kind of up in the air. Then finally we have MCU Weekly. We have a little bit of Brand New Day, a little bit of Fantastic Four, a little bit of X-Men, a little bit of Doomsday, of course, because, you know, that's coming out in December of this year. So we're going to be talking about all of that. And then, of course, our quick hits. Quite a few quick hits, nothing too crazy, but a little bit to get into there. And then DCU Daily, got a big show, actually, for DCU Daily. We have our quick hits, DCU Daily quick hits. And then we have a lot of comic talk. Mainly about the Absolute Universe, but we are going to be getting into some other stuff in terms of mainline and crossovers. And then finally, what did Gunn say? What did Gunn say in these past few days, and of course today? He teased a bit, he debunked a bit, he talked a bit, talking about random fan things. So of course we're going to be getting into all of that and more. And then after this wonderful little show, we are going to be getting into Fancast Friday. You picked Ana de Armas in the DCU, so let's get into that after the show. But for now, let's get into DCU Daily proper with, at first, the news.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
And here we are. We're welcome to the news, ladies and gents. I am, of course, your host, John. Lovely to see you all. Let's get that banner going, and let's talk to the few people in the chat. Monique and Decole are in the chat. Welcome, guys. And then, of course, anybody else that's kind of funneling in a little bit. I am, of course, not alone today. As always, we have Dan the Man in the chat. Dan, how are you doing on this wonderful Friday to end the week?
I'm doing good. I'm glad I got to sneak in the last second there.
No, you were here the whole time.
I know, I was totally here the whole time.
No, you were here the whole time. It's fine.
I was here the whole time.
It's all good.
I was here the whole time.
You were here the whole time. Anyway, unfortunately, someone who is not here the whole time anymore. Unfortunately, we have to get into the first bit of news. Yeah. I know. Literally, I think this is every day this week we have talked about someone passing away. this sucks. And it's even worse because at least with like Robert Duvall, he was 95. He lived a long life. Eric Dane was 53. He still had like, you know, he still had a family. He still had a whole life ahead of him, and that was cut short. So while it may not seem like much to people because, you know, you have like the prowess of Robert Duvall, and then you have the guy who played McSteamy in Grey's Anatomy, it's still sad to see. You know, he still had an illustrious career, just a very different career, and that's still something to be at the very least, you know, respected. So, unfortunately, you know, Grey's Anatomy was his biggest hit. I don't know, Dan, are you a fan of Grey's Anatomy, or have you not watched it?
I mean, I haven't seen a ton of Grey's Anatomy. I mean, that's obviously the big one. But like to me, I mean, he was in Euphoria, of course, something much more recent. But the one that stands out to me the most, and I'm glad we picked the Hollywood Reporter. Hey, no, stop. Sorry, 1 second. Be right back.
Okay, so Dan has to go wrangle his kitties. So let's get into this. His career took off after he emerged from a shower with a strategically placed towel on the ABC hit. Later, he starred in The Last Ship and Euphoria. So he was known for McSteamy for his 8-year run as the plastic surgeon Mark Sloan on the show. Unfortunately, Dane died Thursday afternoon. His reps announced in a statement he revealed in April that he had been diagnosed with a rare degenerative disease, having first experienced symptoms a year and a half earlier. He spent his final days surrounded by dear friends, his devoted wife, and his 2 beautiful daughters, who were the center of his world. And ALS was specifically the degenerative disease that he had. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, Monique. It's a horrific disease, and it's brutal. When I first heard that he had that diagnosis, it was tough to hear because he was also in I think he was in one of the 2 new Bad Boys movies as well. He was like the main antagonist in one of the 2 Bad Boys movies, and I mean, as I was saying before, I had to kind of run away for a second. Euphoria is a big one. Obviously, Grey's Anatomy, a lot of people know him from there. I personally, like you're seeing it on screen right now, from 2014 to 2018, I first saw him on The Last Ship on TNT. Loved that show, loved him in it, and he had gone through, I think, a bout with like alcoholism at the time, just as alcohol addiction at the time. And in the last season of the show, like, you know how like, when you are sort of in remission, or like it's kind of like what you would see in Friends seasons with Matthew Perry back in the day. It's like you kind of puff, like he looked like so, but you know, everybody was supportive of his journey, and you know, he obviously like had a rough go of it in general, but again, amazing actor. And yeah, it hit me. I was like, Eric Dane, he's 53 is just an incredibly young age for somebody, especially like he has a family, he has you know, daughters and a wife. It just breaks your heart. And Hello Enterprising, yeah, it particularly feels weird. Like, I mean, for me, also personally, I've had a lot, you know, of that in my personal life recently. Like, I lost a pet bird. I mean, I lost Zelda. Hello, Caleb. And I lost another close relative not too long this past week, who, you know, growing up was, you know, my grandpa on my mom's side passed before I was born, but he was sort of like that for me. So and then, you know, seeing this, like, we had Catherine O'Hara pass, Eric Dane, and you know, there's even others that we haven't talked about on the show.
Yeah, like Tom Noonan was another one who passed away on Valentine's Day. That was a big loss for mainly the horror community, so there was that as well.
Yeah, it's it you know, takes time. Like, time gives perspective, and grief, you know, grief has a way of sort of like, you know, working into parts of your day. And then yeah, I just hope that, you know, Eric Dane's family, his especially his, you know, his daughters, his wife, like they're able, they're, you know, able to take this time to reflect and hopefully, you know, find some solace in the fact that he fought as hard as he could. I mean, I think there's this, I don't know if you have this article, but I think we do actually coming up. We'll talk. I'll wait till we get to it. But yeah, like he also, like, to be able to publicly talk about his ALS diagnosis, and it's like, you know, actors are in their line of work. Basically, your job is to be vulnerable, right? It's kind of like, and you need to do, that's what you do. And uh, on top of that, when you're having such a personal battle, everybody deals with it differently. Chadwick Boseman, you know, chose to keep that battle very private, and so a lot of us were kind of shocked to hear when he passed, you know, that he had been dealing with colon cancer, right? Um, Eric Dane, you know, talked about it publicly. He, you know, and that takes that's a different kind of courage, you know. So it's, uh, yeah, our thoughts and blessings and just go out to Eric Dane and his family. Obviously, it's just 53, yeah. From Grey's Anatomy to Last Ship, Euphoria, the Bad Boys movie recently, and everything else that he did. I mean, incredibly charismatic, amazing actor, gone just way too soon. And like Monique was saying, ALS is a horrific. It's a horrific disease, and it's the kind of, it's like you don't want to wish that on the worst, your worst enemies thing. It's just and he fought it valiantly until, you know, he lost the battle. So yeah, just
Yeah,
we wish him
and
the best.
you know, of course, many other stars, you know,
Yeah,
attributed him. Some Blair, Ashton Kutcher, Paul Walter Hauser, and more.
and so many
You know,
more.
react to his death. So there was that. So it showed that he was indeed loved, not by just his family, but by others as well. So that's
Yeah,
always, you know, nice to see, and not just them, obviously, but the cast and crew do pay tribute to Eric
yeah,
Dane. Said he, you know, left an incredible marks. Shonda Rhimes, Kevin McKidd, James Pickens Jr., and more. Part of the show attributed the late actor who, you know, portrayed McSteamy. It just feels weird to
yeah.
say. It's like we're talking about this serious thing, and then we're like, oh, McSteamy. It's like, can't you just call him by his name? Like, I don't know his name, so I don't know. Mark
Well, I
Sloan,
mean,
okay.
like when I first mentioned it to Fiona, I was like, "Do you know?" She's like, "Yeah, of course, yeah." He was McSteamy. I'm like, "Okay." So it is. It's not. I mean, necessary to disrespect him. It's just, you know, your touch point. Like that's how you remember. You know, like it's. There will. We've talked about others who have passed, like Catherine O'Hara, Home Alone. You know, Kevin's mom. Like it's, even though she did so many other things. And I think that's I see it as positive because like we can celebrate. I mean, hello, Stephen, and yeah, it's just been awful seeing so many you know, celebrities and people just that we love, because like when we choose to bring somebody like a show into, and we choose to love watching a show or a movie, we bring those characters, those actors into our home, and it's just our brain instinctively, um you know, the way this has been proven by research that we sort of see them like our family in a sense. Like we think of them as, like, you know, we personally know them even though we've never met them, they've never met us, but it's just the way our brain like treats it. So yeah, we feel it, you know, even with characters. Like you just finished watching season 4 of For All Mankind, John, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for once Ed Baldwin didn't have a personal band. I mean, they were toying around with the idea in that season, but it's just, you know, and that's a character. But like, you know, Joel Kinnaman, like if you know, God forbid something were to happen to him, like it just, you would be like devastated because we love the show, we love him and the work that he does. I mean, that's why a lot of people are still sort of mad at the fact that they killed off his character. Oh, I'm forgetting right now. Rick Flag in the Suicide Squad,
Peacemaker,
because
what a
we
joke.
care. Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, yeah, you know, well, not gonna get sidetracked. James Gunn just has a way of writing like these, you know, emotional arcs, and just like, yeah. But it's also like grief is part of the human condition. So, I think it's, while we are also, you know, we're mourning the loss of Eric Dane, we can also celebrate him and the work and legacy that he left behind.
Mm-hmm.
by rewatching and keeping him in our
speaking
minds.
of, his legacy, his daughter, as he said in a final interview, fight with every ounce of your being and with dignity. So, just showcasing that it seems like Ride or Die was the one he was the villain in, to answer your question from before.
Ride or Die.
But yes, it seems like, good, caring father, leaving a mark on his children, and hopefully they can carry the goodwill that he brought to the world that many people will remember him for. So, yeah.
And this was part of, I think there's not very aptly titled, but I think it's like a series on Netflix called Famous Last Words, which feels a little tone deaf in terms of the titling of it, considering, I this is the only time I've heard of it, where they do, I guess that they do celebrity interviews where like Eric Dane talked about this in his message to his daughters about fight with every ounce of your being and with dignity. And you kind of watch it back. We've seen other examples of it, like when I'm forgetting the name of the actor, it's just who played Hagrid. I'm just blanking on it right now. Robbie Coltrane. When Robbie Coltrane passed, it was not too long after that Harry Potter reunion happened, and then he did this interview, and he happened to say, there will come a time when I'm no longer around, but these stories, these characters will be. So it's like, and it's like the idea of like death being that has such a finality to it. I feel like our brains just don't quite. It's hard to compute, that there's just like, that's it. Like there's no, hello, Angelica.
I'm going to be seeing that tomorrow. I didn't realize it was getting such bad reviews until after I got my ticket. So that's going to be interesting.
I don't know if Liz has been watching a ton of movies of late. I don't know if that's one on her list. But as I was saying, like
satanic horror movie, definitely not her cup of tea.
Well, the passing of Eric Dane is sad, is tragic. He was only 53. He leaves behind 2 daughters and lots more loved ones and friends and family. We hope all are doing okay in this time, because it just be devastating. Even though he was fighting ALS for a while, and so it wasn't. I'm not like saying it's still a shock, but it wasn't like he passed all of us. But I can't imagine what they're feeling like. So we hope and we wish them the very best. And I'm gonna be watching back The Last Ship probably now, because I want to go back and see that. And it was a good show. I love military sci-fi stuff. So, and it was like it's about like a U.S. Navy destroyer in like a post-apocalyptic future where a virus wiped out a bunch of, most of the world, and it actually ran from 2014 to 2018, which was weirdly prescient considering in 2019 the COVID pandemic happened. So obviously the events of the show didn't really come to pass in the same way. But yeah, that when I think the last few years when cable television still mattered in a true sense, like having scripted TV shows, like everything since of the ilk has now moved to streaming. So, but yeah, Eric Dane, if you guys haven't, then just maybe celebrate the life and career of Eric Dane, whether you enjoyed it, seeing him as McSteamy in Grey's Anatomy, or in Euphoria much more recently, or The Last Ship, or the Bad Boys movies, or any of his many other projects that he was a part of. So,
but now we have to get into something far, far worse than death, and that is, of course, talking about the Warner Brothers merger. Unfortunately, we do have to get into this. Bit of a shame, I know. I'm sorry, people are sick of it, but we do indeed have to talk about it because we got to let the people know. So, obviously, the first thing that we're going to be talking about in regards to this merger is allegedly, the EU, the regulators of the EU favor the Paramount taking over Warner Brothers rather than Netflix. And regulatory officials in Brussels are already mulling implications of the rival merger scenarios. Now, as someone who doesn't really know like the business side of things, I have a feeling I know why. Is because Netflix is more powerful internationally than in this country because there's more competition here. Well, there's not more competition overseas, so it seems like the EU would definitely have more anti-Netflix sentiment than Paramount sentiment. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. I think you're on the right track. Basically,
Okay.
and what it comes down to, and again, we'll TLDR this part because in Hollywood, business news isn't always the most glamorous thing, and we've talked about this at length so many times. But basically, I've mentioned this in the past, right? Like in the U.S., you can count them on two hands now. You have Disney Plus, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Peacock, obviously Amazon Prime, Netflix, the big one, in Hulu, however long it lasts. You have obviously Crunchyroll and so many other the smaller ones. AMC Plus is a thing. Uh, Now internationally, in a lot of markets such as Europe, the European Union, you don't have as many options. We have talked about it before, like HBO Max is still expanding to many other territories. They're just coming to the UK this year. Like I think they either launched now or they're launching in the next few weeks or months. Uh, and much like that, there's a lot of others. Like Paramount Plus isn't available everywhere. Peacock isn't available everywhere. Uh, Hulu is an American thing only, so like it becomes part of this. It's basically baked into Disney Plus abroad, which is where they're headed in the U.S. as well. So basically, Netflix, while they're still the biggest streaming service in the U.S. in terms of like that premium video on demand. Like YouTube technically doesn't count as that unless I guess YouTube has a premium offer, like you pay whatever is like $30 a month or whatever it is, whether it's the single or the family plan. But Netflix has a big presence in the US, but they have an even bigger presence in terms of market share, percentage of the market internationally. And, because there's fewer competitors. So that's why I would imagine the EU would be uh, worried about this because they'd be like, well, Netflix, because the effect of having HBO Max kind of added into that Netflix library or like that content and that IP would be even more felt there. Now the thing is that in Europe they do have other streaming services we don't have in the US. Like there's Sky, there's Canal Plus. Like so there are other options. So it's not quite like they only have less than what America has. They also have other options that we don't have here. Like some shows end up on American streaming services like Peacock and Paramount Plus, which are on their native streaming services where they're actually made for internationally, and vice versa. Like in the Canada they have Crave, the Heated Rivalry is a Crave show, and in the US it plays on HBO Max. So it's a little more complicated than simply saying Netflix has a pure advantage, but still at the end of the day Netflix still has a bigger market share abroad. So that's why I think the European regulators basically they have a different calculus to do about this in terms of like how they weigh the mergers between potentially Netflix and Warner Brothers or Netflix and Paramount as opposed to the American regulators, because it's different markets, there's different competitors, and like even when you look at like the percentage of the market Paramount Plus has and the European Union is different than what they have in the US. So that's what it is, and basically I think the numbers favor Netflix even as more of a monopoly in Europe than it would be potentially in the US. And if the US regulators are looking at it closely, I can only imagine Europe would be doing the same. That's what this is about, basically. And David Ellison has been making the case publicly, and even doing a whole tour with his senior leadership abroad to kind of be like, yeah, look, like, would you really want that, Europe, like, or Paramount? We're smaller. So anyway, yeah. But that's not the only thing. We have other nuances.
Obviously, we have other stuff to talk about, but Paramount Skydance, which doesn't have a deal yet, by the way, just like that's a fair note. I feel like David Ellison kind of keeps
forgetting that like very significant. Although to be fair, they did address that.
Like, that hasn't happened yet. They claim it's proposed WBD takeover. Proposed has cleared the Department of Justice antitrust review. So like, this thing that hasn't happened yet, might not even happen at all. Yeah, it's all good to go, guys. All good to go. So, yeah. And guess what, guys? I also wanted to announce my $10 trillion that the U.S. government is giving me. They gave the okay. I haven't gotten it yet, and I won't ever get it, but like they gave the okay. That's like essentially what this is. So,
Well, okay, so TLDR, there's a word like it's Hart-Scott-Rodino. It's like a thing basically, one part of a process which you have to clear in order to get an approval, from the US regulators to basically go through with the merger. Paramount they went through this process already, and they have gone through that process, and they've passed. But obviously, a big missing piece is the fact they don't actually have a deal with Warner Brothers. So, like, until they clear that hurdle, the really significant one, none of that would matter. Netflix also has pretty much been moving along that same timeline. I mean, except Netflix has a deal in place. They have like real contract with Warner Brothers, but Paramount is touting this publicly as if like, look, we're already moving far ahead of Netflix, and Netflix is like, wait a second, hold on. The Justice Department still has to really provide their approval. This is because the Hart-Scott-Rodino milestone is not something that the Justice Department provides. That's a different part of the government's regulatory bodies. There's multiple regulatory bodies you have to clear, and so the Justice Department, which by the way, the Justice Department under the first Trump administration sued to block the AT&T Warner Brothers merger, which then took like a year for them to actually like go through that process, and then eventually AT&T obviously did continue on and acquire Warner Brothers, only to drive them into the ground a few years later. But that being said, basically what Netflix is saying, hold on, guys, like, again, don't be misled. There's still a long ways to go for either Paramount or for us. Paramount's no more ahead than we are. Stop. And so it's just one of those things where obviously Paramount is in their interest to try to make this feel like a bigger win than it actually is, so that the shareholders that they're trying to convince to vote for Paramount's deal instead of the Netflix one are like, oh my God, like they actually mean it when they say they're moving faster. Whereas in reality, there's, much more work to be done, especially the part where Paramount actually gets a deal with Warner Brothers, because it's like, if Warner Brothers is like, we're not selling to you, then it doesn't matter what, Hart-Scott-Rodino, thing you go through, because you don't have a company to buy. So, that's a pretty significant thing, like you said, John. So, yeah, that's, again, the whole, when Ted Sarandos said they've been flooding the zone, that's what Netflix is accusing Paramount of doing here, which, to be fair, Paramount did point out some of these things that I mentioned in their press release. But again, the fact that they put out a press release about it, it's meant to be like, we're in the news cycle. Look, we're making progress. Like, it's very like a, doing this all in the public eye kind of thing, where it doesn't really need to be. So yeah, let's keep on going. Oh, hello, Eric, by the way.
But Warner Bros. Discovery says it's worried employees will quit if it picks Paramount's offer, because like, that should be another major red flag to y'all. Like, hey, our entire workforce will quit if we go to this objectively worse company. Interesting.
I mean, look, basically, Business Insider, I think that some of the stories behind a paywall, so we're not going to get into all of it. But the idea is, the sentiment within Warner Brothers is that under Netflix, most people who work at Warner Brothers that are they're talking about here, at least the senior leadership, they believe that they'll be under safer hands with Netflix, because, and part of it you got to imagine is because Netflix is like, co-CEOs were on the studio a lot, did a Q&A session, and have, done a lot more work because they signed the contract. So they've been much more concrete about their plans, and publicly so, including like, how many people they may or may not lay off. Nobody's given exact numbers, but Netflix has said we're largely going to let Warner Brothers function as they are now, because we're entering that business that we haven't had before. And so part of the appeal, if you believe Ted Sarandos, is that they're acquiring Warner Brothers because they want what Warner Brothers does, which is theatrical distribution, making movies for theaters, making TV shows. They have a whole, not that Netflix doesn't make TV shows, but a lot of the TV shows on Netflix are produced by other production companies, like Warner Brothers Television, for example, which now they would have in-house, but those are all things Netflix doesn't have natively. So that's been Netflix's argument. Whereas Paramount, on the other hand, they haven't given us concrete information, but what they have said, they've been saying they're going to achieve $6 billion in savings, whereas Netflix is saying that they will achieve like around $3 billion. And as part of what Paramount has been saying, without being very specific, they have said stuff like, we'll look at real estate assets, which AKA means the Burbank studio lot of Warner Brothers, the historic Burbank studio lot, and so many others. But yeah, Eric, exactly. Sony, for example, has licensed the K-pop Demon Hunter franchise to Netflix. Skydance, which is David Ellison's production company, that's made a bunch of stuff for Netflix. Warner Brothers Television has a bunch of stuff. So, and Hello Watcher. But the point I was trying to make is, people within Warner Brothers believe that they'll be in safer hands under Netflix than they'll be under Paramount. And quite frankly, John, given like where Paramount is right now, as somebody who has worked there before, and I will not disclose any like super secret information because like I don't want to be sued by anybody, but let's just say, both from the inside and the outside, looking in and knowing people who still work within the company, things are not quite as rosy at Paramount as you would expect, considering how big of a cash injection they got once Skydance merged with them last year. Like, they bought them for $8 billion, and they're about, like, Skydance Paramount under the Ellisons is now bidding for $108 billion for Warner Brothers. So that's to like over 10 times the size of the company if you just go by the financial valuation alone. And if they can't run Paramount well, I mean, again, it's not been very long, but the initial impressions haven't been the best. It's like they've made all these splashy like deals with the Duffer Brothers and with James Mangold and all those other things, but they lost freaking Taylor Sheridan. It's Paramount Plus is the house that Taylor Sheridan and Star Trek built, or mostly Taylor Sheridan, to be fair. So like they've made some pretty big missteps, and it's also like it feels like a house of cards because like they made all these flashy signings, but like under the hood, like, is everything running well? And I can tell you like things are shaky at best from having known people who work there still. With Warner Brothers, on the other hand, we keep talking about it. They keep breaking records at the theaters. They just had their 9th consecutive #1 opening at the weekend box office with Wuthering Heights. And on the television side of things, they're doing quite well. HBO Max is growing. It's opening up in more territories. We talk about DC all the time, and DC is in a pretty good position, and that's a far cry from where they were 3 or 4 years ago. And Discovery bought Warner Brothers. So yeah, I kind of believe this, and I would also, if I was working for Warner Brothers, be thinking maybe Netflix is the better option, So I get it, but like, yeah, sorry, long story short, it makes sense. Like, that Warner Brothers employees would be worried about the Paramount deal, or potential Paramount deal. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, not the final thing we have. More on the lighter side, just be like, Ted Sarandos is like none, like almost like none of this is bothering him. Just be like, hey, this is what we plan to do if we get Warner Brothers. Just like totally like fucking, like EU having a hissy fit, David Ellison having a hissy fit, all these people like losing their minds, and Ted Sarandos is like, this is what I'm gonna do. So Ted Sarandos promises Netflix will include premium on demand in Warner theatrical window. So Netflix's co-CEO assures Warner Films won't go straight to streaming after 45 days in theaters. And there is a bit of a graphic that I got here. Hang on a sec.
Yeah. Because this is what he's talking about here is not just the 45-day theatrical window. He's talking about like what happens after the movie has played theatrically.
So this is like, it says on the side here, it has 45 days of theatrical exclusivity, film released on digital, and then later released on streaming to HBO Max. So this is essentially a TLDR of that article, where it's essentially, hey, this is what Ted Sarandos said in regards to what Warner Brothers movies, specifically Warner Brothers movies, are going to be. So
yeah, because he went on this podcast with Matthew Bellany, who works for, I believe, the Puck News. We've mentioned them before on the show. They're a relatively new outlet, but Matthew Bellany and a couple other people that they have industry connections. They've been doing this for years. Again, I have a cat who's misbehaving. Sorry, but. So basically it's a whole podcast. You guys can go listen to it. It's on Apple Podcasts and other podcast places. I'm sure like it's on Spotify as well. I actually tried to listen to it. It's not too long. It's like 40 minutes. So you get a chance. I mean, Ted Sarandos, he was like, I'm not talking like flowery language. He used some other word for it, but basically he was saying, I'm not giving you like some corporate talk. I'm just gonna try to answer your questions straight. And hello, D. Ross Marcos. But essentially, what he said is like, we're not just gonna do a 45-day theatrical window, but after that we're gonna let the movie go on digital release and Blu-ray physical media release. That was the implication, because that's what they're talking about, like the premium video release, where for example with Superman, like what they didn't do with Warner Brothers, which again, it's not you don't do this with every movie the same way. It depends on how popular a movie is. Actually, Top Gun Maverick is a better example. After it played in theaters for like 6 months, which is insane to think about today, Top Gun Maverick was then available to buy on iTunes. You could rent it, but it wasn't on Paramount Plus yet. And they did that for a month or so, whatever it was. And it was at the top of the charts for most of that time. I remember talking about it on the show. That's what Ted Sarandos is talking about. Because basically what he's saying is, we're not going to just put the movie in theater and then drop it on Netflix right after, or HBO Max right after. I think he said HBO Max in this case. We're going to give it that premium video release, basically, where you still have to just rent it or buy it, because the idea would be, there's a lot of people out there, for example, they were saying specifically, there's a lot of families out there who would love to pay, I don't know, $30 to rent it or buy it and watch it at home with their family of 4. But it's hard for them to afford to pay for 4 movie tickets on all the concessions to go see that same movie in theaters. But John, I understand, right? Because for example, if you want to go see, let's say, Man of Tomorrow in theaters, and you have it's your wife, and you have 2 kids, there's 4 of you, you're going to pay, I don't know, easily $50 to $80 for the tickets and concessions, possibly $100. And you then have to go to the movie theater, however far that is from your house. Hopefully it's not very far. Park your car. It's like a whole thing. And then or if you're going just you and your wife, let's say, or your partner, and then you're leaving kids at home or something, you got to get a babysitter. So there's all those things to consider, versus after that 45-day window, you can literally just pay, I don't know, $30. Usually it's about $30 at the most, to rent the movie, or renting usually is a little less. But if you even just choose to buy it, you have it for watching that one time, and then you could just come back to it later, watch the behind the scenes documentaries and all that, the director's commentary. That's a fraction of the cost of going to the movie theater just a few weeks before that. So, and for some people, it just makes sense that Ted Sarandos was saying, we're going to honor that. And studios do this, and people are wondering, would Netflix do this? And they were saying, we're gonna do that, and only after that are we gonna put it on HBO Max.
He did say, which is a little, Machiavellian, sounds like a supervillain kind of. I want to own the box, but it's
there's a bit of bravado there.
He's a businessman. He wants to, he wants all the power. So.
Which, by the way, it's not we're not trying to glaze Ted Sarandos, wholesale, because he's also said some stupid stuff. So
I don't want Warner Brothers to be fucking owned by anybody. If I had, it's either getting a gunshot in the head, or eating, or taking a poison pill. Yeah, both aren't great, but I'd rather get shot in the head than a slow death. So slow, painful death that will be for Paramount. So. It just seems like Ted Sarandos understands at least a little bit more what the people want to see, what Warner Brothers is as a company, rather than David Ellison, who's just the rich guy that wants to own everything and control everything for his best buddy in the White House. So, that just seems like the way it's gonna be. So that's not great, because it seems like Ted Sarandos is I want the next step up for my media enterprise. David Ellison is rich guy doing evil rich guy things, in addition to it being also very politically motivated. So not great, but one is a little bit better than the other.
Yeah, I think it's Ted Sarandos definitely has softened his tone in recent weeks, at least. I'm not gonna say months, but definitely recent weeks, because he realizes, I think it's the two sides have different motivations, right? Ted Sarandos is I've got a deal in place, but so I'm gonna do what I can to make that work, and then not jeopardize it. He knows he has the high ground, so he also doesn't have that sense of desperation. The David Ellison and Paramount are acting with that sense of desperation, because they know that they started this whole process to begin with, and they might have just completely effed it up, and they know like there's the chances are that like Netflix right now they have the upper hand and it's going to stay that way. So there are two different motivations. Like, you could play the role of cool hand Luke if you've got a document that says, oh, I'm buying the company, and it's basically, a matter of time, literally till March 20th when the shareholders get to vote on it. Whereas the Ellison side of the story with Paramount is very different, because for them, time is running out. But again, the proof is going to be in the pudding, whether Netflix follows through on all its promises and or Paramount. So yeah, Ted is not to be glazed. We are not here to glaze Ted Sarandos. He supposedly forgot that he ever said there was a 17-day release window that he preferred or thought was the ideal thing. He straight up denied it in one of his interviews. Not the podcast that he was on. It was a different TV interview. I think it was like on Fox Business News, I think it was. Which is, I'm like, we could show you the receipts, bruh. Like, it's very well documented that you have said this before. So again, Ted Sarandos is by no means a saint, but it just seems like, at least he's putting his neck out there saying these things, which will be very much quoted and thrown right back in his face if Netflix changes course after they do and, finish their end up the new owners of Warner Brothers, which, yeah. So you don't say this stuff publicly and then completely pull a 180 and try to get away with it, because they won't be able to get away with it. And it won't be just people like us. It will be like the actors and all the unionized workers in Hollywood who would be going after them. So yeah, fair play to Ted Sarandos, but the proof is going to be in the pudding. But yeah, you guys let us know. As we always like to say, where do you stand on this? Paramount or Netflix? Who should be the new owners of Warner Brothers? Right now, both are still very much in play. But for how much longer, we'll find out. In a month from now, we have that vote for Warner Brothers shareholders, and they'll get to decide ultimately. Maybe if you are a shareholder, maybe you can let us know which way you're leaning in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you. Of course, we'll follow the story as it evolves, and then we'll keep you guys updated.
Mm-hmm. Next thing that we have on the docket is MovieTalk Madness, and we're going to be talking about some trailers. First being Toy Story 5. The Toy Story 5 trailer finally got released onto the internet, and it has received mixed reactions. Some people are like kind of open to some of the ideas that it presents, the storytelling and all that sort of thing, while others are like, why the fuck is a toy balding? What the fuck am I watching? And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So I don't know. I've seen bits and pieces of the trailer. I just have no interest in Toy Story 5. I've never seen Toy Story 4, and I don't plan on it. I just have absolutely no interest in seeing this whatsoever. I don't really care about this franchise after 3. So maybe there's interesting ideas presented, but that doesn't make it. It doesn't mean it will be a good movie, so I just don't have a ton of interest in this.
Yeah, look, I haven't seen the trailer yet, so I'm not going to speak to it in terms of the content of the trailer itself, but I was very excited to see the direction they were going in, because they're trying to address something that I think is very relevant, the idea that kids don't really play with toys the way they used to, because most young kids now have tablets, and there's something to be said. I think we're still trying to figure out what the long-term effects of that are, because a lot of those kids are still very much kids, but 10-15 years from now, we'll have a better idea once those kids that grew up with tablets instead of toys like Buzz and Woody, how are they different? Was there some learning deficiency caused by it? Are they less social? Are they more social? There's all these things that, we're yet to find out. So, I mean, and there's been some studies around it, but again, it's a matter of time, because, the iPad was only invented, 10 some odd years ago. So even if it wasn't like people were buying iPads for their kids unless you really had the money to spare. In the first few years, it was it was not until the iPad tablets became so abundant and commonplace, maybe maybe a little under 10 years ago. So a lot of those kids who grew up with those, especially those kids friendly tablets that have those bumper guards on it, and a software that has only kids games, and so there's some boundaries and parental controls and all that. Also iPads and Samsung tablets do the same. But so trying to deal with that idea in Toy Story 5, seems like probably the most genuine and most bold creative attempt to make this franchise relevant for the here and the now. And yeah, I mean, Monique, you're making a good point that, you know, Gen X said the same thing about video games, and, you know, here we are. But and that's true in some ways, you know, like there's always that sense of fear because there's the unknown, like, you know, how's that going to change things? And so but yeah, maybe it will just turn out to be the same thing, like, whereas it was like video games didn't ruin kids necessarily, it's just changed how they grew up and how they choose, you know, got to have that social time with friends, or like, you know, what they decided to do. They weren't always riding their bikes like they were in the 80s, you know, like in Stranger Things and such. They were playing video games. Like I had the PlayStation, I had PS2, PS3, PS4. I've had every gen. I have a PS5. You know, kids grew up on Xboxes. I used to love playing the GameCube. But you know, like I also had wrestling action figures, you know, but like I didn't play with them as much because I had video games. I used to play, you know, cricket a lot, and because I wasn't always living in the US and cricket is much more popular, that's always going to be my, you know, my first love in sports. So, but there's a lot of kids that, you know, grew up playing soccer, football, ice hockey, or, you know, name it, like baseball, like, you know, going to the park. And there's so many different ways. But I mean, Caleb, you hit it right on the mark. Toy Story 3 felt like such a powerful and satisfying ending to the trilogy, particularly because I feel like for somebody like me and a lot of other like millennials who sort of like grew up with the franchise. And when I say maybe like millennial, like, you know, late stage millennials, because like I guess if you grew up in the 80s, you would have been much older when the Toy Story franchise started. But it's like when Toy Story 3 came out, it hit me at the perfect time when I was like I was older than Andy in the movie, but it's like those feelings felt real. So I think in terms of the core base of the franchise, or the core target demographic, it's like the franchise has to sort of like grow up with them in a way, and or does it find a new audience? And I feel like Toy Story 5 neither answered that question or you know, posed very many new ones. But yeah, I do. Okay, so Enterprising saying Nintendo will win the console wars. Xbox's new CEO will be the former head of their AI department. I saw that, Enterprising. We're not really talking about it on the show today. I don't know if that's going to have such a transformational effect on Nintendo's future. I think the console wars are probably already over. But it's not because one brand specifically won. I just don't think like it's as like it's not as dependent. I think now it's some like Steam, for example, making their own like you could play Xbox games on a PC like console as well as like any other. So you know, platform specificity is going away more and more, and Nintendo, you know, Nintendo's definitely still like unique in that sense. But anyway, I digress. As far as Toy Story 5 goes, I'm still fascinated about the concept. From the reactions I've seen about the trailer, they're mixed. So the trailer apparently was not very convincing, which is fine. I guess for the first trailer, we have had that similar reaction to Supergirl's first trailer, and you know, sometimes the first trailer really hits. Like the first trailer for Superman was perfect, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, so but I'm still very much intrigued by the concept of the movie, and you know, Pixar more often than not hit. So they've got Hoppers coming out this year, you know, in a matter of weeks, and then they'll have Toy Story 5. So as soon as it does come out, I'll still go to see it. I hope that the second trailer convinces a bit more, but you know, I'm gonna watch the trailer and judge it for myself. But yeah, I'm still very much intrigued by at least the concept, the premise of the movie. So I'll give it a shot and see how it works, if it works out well or not. Well, Caleb, I hear what you mean, like the whole create something new for the generation's young audience to deserve better than Well, that's the whole point. I don't think they're doing regurgitated slop. Like when you try to, how many kids movies that are specifically about toys deal with the idea that kids don't play with the toys, they have tablets? You know, they're like the original movie was about like getting a new toy. Like at that time it was like, oh yeah, you know, cowboys were going out of style. Everybody wanted to play with an astronaut toy. But that's a very different thing. I feel like in that sense, tackling with the idea of like, oh, they don't want to play with Woody and Buzz and those other toys anymore. They want to play with a tablet. That's the new hot thing. So this premise is as core to the franchise, as anything would be. So again, I'm gonna give it a fair shot, and let the movie speak for itself. I mean, of course, it also keeps Georgie, stop. I've got a very misbehaving kitty. If you guys give me 1 sec. Attention-seeking behavior. Fortunately, Zelda did not do this kind of thing, but I'm still learning. Grandpa Woody. Well, like I was saying, it keeps Tim Allen and Tom Hanks in the front of our minds. I think people will enjoy it with their kids. Yeah, that's the whole idea. These are still family, friendly movies. Well, Caleb, that's the point. It's not about just machines being bad. That I hope that that's not the message this movie comes out with, because it's got to be more than just, oh yes, tablet bad, toys good. Like, and Pixar usually addresses these concepts with more nuance, so than just what machines bad. Hello, Stacy. Grand Uncle Buzz. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, and every other voice actor, who's been around on this franchise since the very beginning. But you know what? There's more than one trailer we're going to be talking about today. I want to get your thoughts, guys, on the House of the Dragon trailer. Of course, season 3, the trailer drop. You got more dragons, Rhaenyra sends more dragons to battle for the Iron Throne, and we got a June release date. So that's really the exciting bit here. To me, as somebody who's still sort of feels like on the outside looking in on this franchise, visually the trailer was impressive, but I mean, they've had 8+ seasons of this franchise now to really nail the VFX, and it's not like they were struggling with it anytime recently. So other than that, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how the story continues to evolve. Of course, this show is not the only Game of Thrones show running right now.
Yes.
You've got of course
we got Night of the Seven Kingdoms,
which is doing great, by the way. I think it's averaging like
honestly, I think it's doing better
viewers.
than House of the Dragon. Like, I think it did better.
Yeah. Like, it's doing great. But the fact that they finally gave us a release date, it's coming out in June. I mean, they didn't give us like, June XYZ. They just said it's coming out in June, which is still great to see. And if you are a fan of House of the Dragon, well, a Dragon fan, whether it's Game of Thrones or House of whatever, the whole franchise, then you'll be getting this. You've got Night of the Seven Kingdoms. You could still watch back the original show, and then they've got another one coming out, right? Isn't there another spinoff coming this year or next year?
I think isn't like a Jon Snow spinoff supposed to come out or something?
No, isn't that no? I think that's the one where wasn't it Kit Harington was like, "I'm never going back to that character. Are you kidding me?" Like, and we were kind of talking about that. So I don't think it's
maybe thing. There's another one. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know, John. What did you think about the trailer? Did you get a chance to see it?
No, because I don't watch any of these shows, so
fair enough.
Don't really care.
Well, do you watch Peaky Blinders then?
I don't watch any of the. I'm not gonna watch any of these, and I don't watch any of these. So I'm sure my parents are happy about this, but yeah.
I mean, this was impressive. I mean, Cillian Murphy and Barry Keoghan. I know some folks who love the shit out of this, and then I also know some people who don't really care for it. But yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Peaky Blinders has always had great appeal, and so I love the idea that they're. I mean, in these movies, I think they're doing multiples of these. So, Cillian Murphy and his son being played by Barry Keoghan, like in this, just that alone impresses me. I haven't seen every season of Peaky Blinders though, so I do have some catching up to do before the movie comes out. But hey, figure drawing. So I'm not going to speak to the details of the plot, and we also don't want to spoil it for anybody who might also be catching up, much like I am. I'm looking forward to it though. This is one of those things where Netflix is trying to continue to grow more homegrown franchises, which I realize this is not entirely a homegrown franchise. It's primarily a British production that's then at least maybe co-financed by Netflix. So I get it. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, what a good time to be a fan of streaming, for shows between House of the Dragon and Peaky Blinders. I mean, Peaky Blinders is a movie, but then you got House of the Dragon coming out with a new season. A lot to get into. But yeah, let's keep on rolling, Kajan, because the next thing on Movie Talk Madness is not even a trailer, but I bet it's something that you had one heck of a time reading through, because I did, and I was even madder after it than I was when we first heard about that Kylo Ren movie that never got anywhere. Why don't you tell us like what Steven Soderbergh talked about? Because I was mad because I'm like, I'm angry for you, Steven. Like it's. Like they did 2.5 years of free work basically, only for Disney to be like, but why would Kylo Ren still be alive after the last Star Wars
Why
movie?
the fuck would Palpatine still be alive, you fucking dumb fucks?
Like what?
Jesus Christ.
Like it's like the whole pitch fell on deaf ears after like letting them work on it for 2.5. Like I would imagine like you could pull the plug
Steven
a little bit
Soderbergh.
sooner.
He's one of the most underrated modern directors of all time, directing really great. Black Bag was fucking phenomenal. I heard Presence was also really good last year, and you're like, nah, fam. Let's get the bitch who worked with Harvey Weinstein to do a show for us. What do you mean? What do you mean? What the fuck do you mean?
Hey, Brogu.
Bro? Speaking of
By the way, Brogu popping in the perfect time.
Like,
there's a specific quote in here. Can you pull up the quote where he talks about like, because basically it was him, Adam Driver he mentioned, and then his wife, Rebecca Blunt is the pen name, but that's what she goes by. His wife's real name is Jules Asner, and she's a former journalist and a screenwriter, and they're married, Steven Soderbergh and Jules Asner, who goes by Rebecca Blunt as a writer, and the two partners, as well as Kylo Ren himself, Adam Driver, were working on developing this idea for apparently a couple of years. And so I get what Steven, Soderbergh said, like, yeah, we were all frustrated. He specifically said, by the way, and this is while he's been promoting his new Singani 63 brandy, which sounds like an Indian name. I can't really tell. But anyway, it's a new brandy that he's been promoting. And he was, as part of that, one of those interviews, he was asked about it because everybody wants to know more about it. And from the man himself, of course. And he was like, that was 2.5 years of free work for me and Adam and writer and Rebecca Blunt, again, his wife. And ultimately, when it all came down to it, like he basically said, like all Disney really came back to us with was like, isn't Kylo Ren dead? Which I can imagine how that would set me off, in the moment. I'm like, really? Because like he was going into that conversation thinking, like they're gonna be talking about like, how much is it gonna cost? Can we do it for less? Like, like when can we get into production? Instead, he was met with like, why would Kylo Ren still be like alive? Didn't like Ben Solo like die already? Like, how can he survive after fighting the Knights of Ren? It was just like this very tone deaf situation. And I read this article twice. And I was like, yeah, by the way, hello, D. Cole. 2.5 years of work, Monique. Exactly. Imagine having Steven Soderbergh and fumbling that bag. That is insane. I mean, I don't know what else to say, John.
It just proves that Disney hates
wild.
making money. So
it's wild. I mean, you do have the Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, but I'm like, if that was at the expense of something like this.
You know what? If this came out and Steven Soderbergh was directing it, I probably would have actually gone and seen it in a theater. And yeah. I refuse to watch any Star Wars movies after Rise of Skywalker. So, like, yeah, no. I'd actually go and watch it. And that's saying a lot for me, who doesn't really care about Star Wars anymore. So,
I mean, just I the guy who made the Ocean's movies, count me in. It's not the only thing he's worked on, of course, and also Adam Driver. Okay, I'm gonna be right back, John. But rest assured, yeah, incompetence, like Enterprising is saying. So,
pretty much. But the next thing we have is MCU Weekly. We're going from Soderbergh to Spider-Man, because apparently Spider-Man Brand New Day synopsis confirms time jump and reveals Peter Parker's next battle. So this is from a book about Brand New Day. I think it's like a novelization. But Barnes & Noble recently unveiled a listing for the upcoming Brand New Day art of the movie. Sorry, it's an art book, which also comes with the first plot synopsis for the installment. And this is what it has to say. 4 years have gone by since we caught up with our friendly neighborhood hero. Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man is at the top of his game, keeping New York City safe. Things are going well for our anonymous hero until an unusual trail of crimes pulls him into a web of mystery larger than he's ever faced before, larger than fighting a god in space. Sure. In order to take on what's ahead, Spider-Man not only needs to be at the top of his physical and mental game, but he also needs to be prepared to face the repercussions of the past. So it seems like Troy Oboyo is not going to be getting his college trilogy, because it looks like he's just gonna, it's gonna be a 21-year-old Spider-Man, around 22. So yeah, it seems like that's going to be the case. We're going to be getting a young adult Spider-Man. We're not going to be getting college age Spider-Man like in the Tobey movies and what we were about to get with the Andrew Garfield movies. We are going to be getting post college Spider-Man, which I don't even know if he is actually going to college. It's just like he's after the quote unquote viable age for college Spider-Man. So I mean, he could still be, I don't know, but honestly, I think this sounds, again, it's vague enough where it's like we don't know any villains, if any of the rumors have been confirmed or anything like that. We just know that it's going to be the toughest battle he's ever fought, and he's going to have to be at the top of his game, which is like, generic fluff, but still interesting enough. Yes, hopefully more suffering. But yeah, around that age. Yeah, I think he was like more mid-20s there, but that's, I like the idea of this synopsis. I like the idea. I like the fact that there is a major, time skip. How we're still dealing with, the fallout of No Way Home, but it's so many years later. I feel like that's definitely interesting and viable for, good storytelling. With how everyone is still sucking the dick of Wonder Man, and people apparently like Shang-Chi. Maybe this might be, we might finally be getting the best MCU Spider-Man movie by a long shot. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm intrigued with this, and I did like the leaked trailer for the most part, the first leaked trailer. I didn't like I know that there was not a video accompanying it, but we did talk about there was a leaked there was a leaked secondary trailer that might get released. So I'm curious how that'll do. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for this. I hope we're going to be getting another great Spider-Man film. Dan, what are your thoughts on this little synopsis in regards to the upcoming brand new day?
I appreciate the idea that they've done like this time jump, because I was kind of getting tired of like each of those movies pretty much picking off right where the last one left off. Because you think about it, like Peter Parker was graduating high school going into college. By the way, Wonder Man, amazing show, Brogu, completely agree with you. But yeah, I mean, 4 years later, you got to imagine he's graduating from college, right? And I don't know if I'd be interested to see if he got into Harvard like, MJ and Ned did. And 4 years is a long time. Like MJ probably has moved on.
MIT, wasn't it?
MIT, was it? Okay, was it MIT? Okay, MIT.
Or something like that.
I think you're right. It's MIT. But the point being, like, the world forgot Peter Parker existed. So, and we saw at the end of that movie, No Way Home, like he's trying to study. He's got a big book to kind of study up for his GEDs. So obviously, like, the high school that he went to forgot he exists. So, like, he didn't quite walk at graduation and get his diploma that way. He had to, do his GEDs to do that. No, you guys are MIT. But yeah, I think that again kind of gives the character more of that true reset that we were all thinking maybe Marvel is only half committed to, but it seems like more and more that they are giving Spider-Man, that proper restart, a new beginning, a brand new day, as it were. Of course, none of this hints at the whole, he's transforming into a spider and organic webbing. but that leaked trailer had all of that in there, so I can't imagine all that was completely AI generated, considering it had like a watermark and everything. So I do think all that stuff is still in the movie. It's just a matter of like, you know, what we're getting to see here in terms of the synopsis, which by the way is not for, I don't even think, is this for the movie itself, or this is from something about this is from like a book, right, that they're putting out there, like Art of the Movie series. So it sort of talks about the movie like indirectly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So this is not the official synopsis for Spider-Man Brand New Day, but it's about that's how it's being referred to and what we get. So again, some key information probably being left out, but it's still, I think this is a good sign. I appreciate where they're going with this character. The time jump certainly, you know, gives you more possibilities for like what you can do with the story, and it also explains the fact that Tom Holland is looking, I mean, he still looks really young, but he isn't looking like, you know, a college, like a high school senior anymore. So yeah, and I would just love to see how the story is, because it's particularly like with Ned and MJ, like they probably forgot all about him. I wonder, like,
let's
if
keep it that
Happy
way for as long as possible.
Like I wonder like what Happy like Logan, like what's going on there, because like they meet up at the end of the movie and he doesn't remember him, obviously, even though he, you know, remembered May Parker. Not only that, like in the movie, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, or like just Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner, apparently knows Peter Parker. But does he remember that he has fought alongside him, you know, against aliens, no less? Like, does he know that, you know, Peter Parker is Spider-Man? And like, it's like, because there's clearly like ways to undo some effects of the spell that they'll have to write their way around. But can they? Will they? How will they do it? Yeah. So yeah, dude's a man now. So the Wonder Man actor, by the way,
face of like a fucking 10-year-old, but you know.
True. By the way, the Wonder Man actor is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He was, of course, Black Manta in the DCEU Grogu. So yeah, good shout there. Yeah, the time jump seems fitting. I was happy to see that they're doing that. Although again, if they're doing a 4-year time jump, are they skipping college entirely? Because that is something that, you know, I guess, well, unless he's gonna go for like his, you know, post-grad degree right away kind of thing, we'll see. You know, if Peter Parker wants to get his master's, like which school did he go to? Because if he didn't, I mean, did he still get accepted to MIT, or did he go to just a different college or whatever? So like those are all questions. Not that those are the relevant details of the movie, but it's all stuff we're gonna be finding out hopefully soon. But yeah, exciting. Good to see this. I think this is a positive update. So
yeah. But next up, we have Avengers Doomsday. Apparently, the real first trailer is still months away, so all those clips and clues, or whatever the fuck they're calling it, yeah, that was nothing compared to what is to come.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah, which I'm not surprised. I mean, the thing they point out here is, on average, they really, if you look at all the other Avengers movies, Marvel has released trailers, the first proper trailer for the movie, a good more or less 5 months away from the movie's release date, like about 140 to 150 days away. And so when you do the math, this year, Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out roughly 140 days before Avengers Doomsday. And that's pretty much the average number of days before the movie's release that every other Avengers movie has put out its first proper trailer, which is, on one hand, way longer to wait for us from February right now than what we would have expected. But it's also, it makes you wonder, like, are we going to see the first trailer for Doomsday when Spider-Man comes out? To me, it would make sense, because that would mean, Marvel isn't cannibalizing their own audience, because you have to strike the balance, because it's, even though it's primarily being distributed by Sony, it's still a Marvel Studios film.
Enterprising, I think so.
So yeah, I mean, you what you don't want to do is you don't want to step on Spider-Man Brand New Day to promote Doomsday, and I think the Spider-Man Brand New Day promotion is only gonna pick up in the next few weeks and months. So maybe waiting till Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out and then putting the trailer out, maybe releasing it in front of that movie in theaters, the timing would be perfect. Like, it makes sense to me, like you said, John. So yeah. But yeah, not surprising, but it's fun. It's somebody that did the math on this, by the way. That was really good too. It's because I think it's more concrete evidence than anything else.
Wrong piece of permanent consequences. What the fuck do you think
Yeah.
this is? Like, this is comics, man. They can resurrect people from like 20 years ago that nobody remembers. Get out of here with that. Come on now. Come on now. What do you think this is? Anyway, moving on. Apparently, Miss Marvel star Matt Lintz talks Marvel future and getting to reveal MCU's first mutant. But he played a rather big role in the series. I don't know what role that is because I never fucking watched
he
it,
was
but...
so he was basically Kamala Khan's best friend. He's like the incredibly smart genius, like
that's secretly
assistant.
in love with her, but she has no feelings for him, and then like
you know what, you actually completely nailed exactly what that was.
It's like every other fucking teen bop or fucking comedy movie. So
well, but it's also Matt Lintz was one of the final people in the running to play Peter Parker in the MCU before Tom Holland got the role. So I mean, he's sort of like had a roller coaster ride with Marvel casting. I mean, he talks about it and I'm sure he's got some sense of regret around that too. But still, I think in this article he was specifically addressing questions like he was asked, of course, how much do you know about the future of the Avengers and Kamala Khan and your character and all that? And he was like, well, I'm sure if I said anything, there will be like a red laser pointed at me. So I guess everybody knows that Kevin Feige's got the Marvel secret police out there keeping an eye on them. But it's good because we know that the mutants are going to be a big part of the next saga. And at the end, right at the end of Miss Marvel, they basically reveal that she's a mutant. They even play the X-Men the 90s X-Men animated show theme, like a little riff from it, because he does like this DNA test to kind of figure out, and they almost hint like that she's got the X gene, and then we get like the little music riff. So I'm sure he's gonna be part of the future of Miss Marvel, whether it's on the big screen or the small screens. But even if he knows what's gonna happen, post Secret Wars or in Secret Wars, he's not going to be giving away any spoilers. So, but fun to see. So, I would love to see more of him in the MCU too. Matt Lintz, I think, did a great job. Yeah. If you haven't seen Miss Marvel, go watch it. It's a fantastic show. So,
yeah, I mean,
it's a marvelous show. Yeah.
Yes. But speaking of marvelous, apparently a Venom animated movie is in the works with Final Destination filmmakers Zach, not going to try to pronounce that, and Adam B. Stein. So apparently the Avi Arad's quest to make Venom the greatest superhero of all time is still on track, after like many failed portrayals. So yeah, so the duo who recently worked on the newest Final Destination film, they are going to direct this project, and of course Amy Pascal, Avi Arad, and Matt Tolmach, who worked on the Venom movies, are most likely going to produce the feature, but it's still at the very beginning of its announcement, so who knows if that's true or not. But if it's Venom, Avi Arad is not too far behind, because that's usually the case.
I mean, it's also the article mentioned that Tom Hardy, even though he won't be, they don't he's not going to be playing Venom, but he's going to be involved in some capacity. I mean, I guess they didn't rule him out as playing, voicing the character, but my guess is because by the end of that Venom trilogy, Tom Hardy was also a producer on those movies, or I think he might even been a producer from the get-go. So that part I'm okay with, having Tom Hardy be attached to this. That gives me some hope. Amy Pascal also has led pretty much the way on every Marvel Spider-Man collaboration, for the good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, you got to give her credit for what she did with No Way Home. So, and regardless of how many times she gets the awkward a stare and smile from Kevin Feige in one of those interviews that they do together, as a producer, she's done a pretty decent job. So, and I'm excited to see an animated version. I don't know if they're gonna have this tied to any the Spider-Verse stuff. Probably not, but I suppose they know what their big stuff is, and of the live action movies they've done recently, the Venom ones were the only ones that seemingly worked. So why not try animated? So, yeah.
But then you have the I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, about there was apparently a Steve Rogers scene that was going to be in the Fantastic Four First Steps.
Like that they cut out. It was meant to be like post-credit scene, I think, at one point.
Yeah, it was gonna be, it's Steve at his cabin on their Earth asking, they had the Fantastic Four visiting Steve at his cabin on their Earth and asking him for help with a multiversal problem, such as the incursions, and now that's just gonna be in Doomsday. So, yeah, cool.
Now, of course, this is coming from My Time to Shine. Hello, so take it with a grain of salt because they're a scooper. They don't always get things right, but it makes sense that they shot it, so they're gonna include it. Maybe not. Maybe they might have changed it or reshot it. I don't know in what form, because there's kind of, this is the thing about a scooper talking about something like this. There's no falsifiable information here, because I don't think they're gonna let a version of this scene out in the wind at Marvel, even if they kept it the same, or if they changed it, especially because they don't want like two different versions of the scene for people to compare, like, oh, this is supposed to be the plan and now this is what we actually got. So whatever we get, I mean, I suppose, like, if it's not in the movie, then we were like, all right, well, they got that one wrong. But if it is, then I don't think that necessarily means that My Time to Shine got the scoop. It's just hard to trust. But I'm okay with it. I would love to see it. I mean, the Nia DaCosta has hinted recently when she was promoting her 28 Years Later spinoff this year, that essentially some of the stuff that she saw in the Avengers Doomsday, clues that they put out last year, some of that stuff was shot years ago. And I'm not saying she said it was like shot 10 years ago. I think she meant like it's been a year or two. Like some of that stuff with Chris Evans and stuff, that's been, so like Chris Evans talking about it in more recent times, like when he was promoting his movie last year, The Materialist, and he was saying like, oh yeah, those guys are having a lot of fun. I don't know what they're doing, or like, I wish I was there. Maybe he was being genuine. Maybe the stuff that Chris Evans shot was done a while ago. So maybe he wasn't quite lying, or maybe he was. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised to see that they took that scene and included it here, because obviously the end credits for Thunderbolts was shot by the Russo brothers, and that's going to directly tie into Doomsday. So they're trying to get back to where all these post-credit scenes actually matter again, and not just lead to dead ends, which is great to see. So yeah, yeah. Well, let's keep on rolling. We got more Marvel stuff to get about. Yeah, Marvel trying to get their groove back. Exactly. Love to see it, or at least they're trying. We'll see. I'm sure they're, if Doomsday hits, that they will be well on their way. But X-Men may begin filming sooner than expected, y'all. And of course, Loki and Fantastic Four production designer has now joined the reboot that's going to be directed by Paul Schreier, who of course most recently directed the Thunderbolts movie. Loki and Fantastic Four, I mean, production design on those two projects were probably some of the best production design work the MCU has ever had. So I'm glad that they're bringing that, that same talent all the way over to the X-Men movies, because the bar for the X-Men movies is pretty high. Like, for all the lows of the X-Men movies in the Fox era, the highs were still really high, especially when you look at how they adapted, like, the mansion with Professor X, and and all the X-Men reside, and the school for the gifted, and some of the other iconic locations, what do they call it, the Cerebro. You gotta be able to, like, not just bring that back to life, but maybe like not make it the exact same thing that we have seen before, and yet make it feel like it's true in spirit to what we get in the comics and what everybody loves. And I certainly think that the production designer behind Loki and Fantastic Four would do a good job with this. So I'm excited to hear about this. What do you think, John? Eric Pearson.
Yeah, it's
actually, no, that was the writer.
It's definitely interesting, and I just hope we get a good X-Men movie out of it. I'm not gonna hold my breath. But I hope it's good. I mean, a lot of people seem to really like Thunderbolts, so what he managed to do with an ensemble there, so they're like, okay, you can handle an ensemble with this team nobody cared about. Well, here's the keys to the castle to our most popular sub franchise, and have at it. So I'm curious what he has to do. I'm not gonna expect Days of Future Past or X2 or Logan levels of greatness. I'll expect maybe at the very most first X-Men, like maybe like first class
Okay.
apocalypse levels, like where I'm not, it won't be the greatest thing ever, but like I expect a good time from it. Maybe.
Yeah. By the way, D. Cole, I don't think we know yet if Tom Hardy would reprise his role as Eddie Brock and Venom in the animated movie. Uh, but he's going to be involved in the project in some capacity. By the way, the name of the production designer that we're talking about here is Kasra Farahani. That sounds like an Iranian and Persian name. Uh, but yeah, he's worked on Loki, Fantastic Four, and now he's going to be working on the X-Men movie. Also, of course, the headline says that the movie will start production sooner than expected, and their source for that is filmbase.uk, which shares a lot of news about, like, what projects, movies, and TV shows that are filming in the UK coming up. And so, according to their information and their sources, the X-Men movie is one of the projects that is set to start production later this year. So the speculation would be that will line up with the 2028 release date, which is what a lot of people have speculated, because that would be the first year after Secret Wars comes out. And because Secret Wars will be playing in theaters starting in December 2027, so probably, this time in 2028, it will still be in theaters. And then people are thinking, or the speculation has been, that the first Marvel movie to come out in 2028 is probably going to be Black Panther 3, and then the second one would be X-Men. And so this piece of news here seemingly just confirms that, if they're going to start filming this year, then that probably means they're going to be releasing it in 2028, which is great news. That's a lot more concrete than anything we've heard about, the DCU Batman movies. So, which we'll get into later, but I'm happy to see this, and I'm happy that Marvel will continue with that sense of focus and purpose post Secret Wars, with leading the way with some of its most iconic characters moving forward. By the way, Project Hail Mary, Steven, I will definitely try to see it in IMAX. I think it's one of those movies that's worth watching in IMAX. So yeah. And yeah, barbecue chicken and ribs sound delicious, especially because I don't have anything near me that is anywhere near that good right now, Steven. So I wish I was having some of that too. John, are you looking forward to seeing X-Men 2028? What are your expectations?
I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't even know if I might like catch it on streaming, like at the most. I just, again, it's just like Marvel. I'm just outside of Spider-Man and maybe a couple other choice projects that really interest me. I'm just not like, oh my God, I need to go see it at the theater yesterday. Like, I'm not like quaking in my boots because of Jake Schreier's X-Men. Like, it's I'm like, okay,
Fair.
it's
I get that.
I mean, oh, the guy who did which is like, obviously, like, this guy is not going to become anything until he makes the movies that people want to see. Awesome, great. I mean, Bryan Singer was pretty well established, and the fact that he would go on to do X-Men and like that whole franchise is like really good. I mean, ignoring who he is as a person, because he's a disgusting non-human to me because of what he did. We're just talking about his movie career, and despite being an overall piece of shit, he managed to make some of the greatest like superhero movies like of all time that are still remembered to this day, despite everything. So I don't know. I just think that that's just the worst of humanity, bringing us something like as great as like X2 and Days of Future Past, and that's like something. And hell, you like James Mangold and Matthew Vaughn and people that have been with this franchise from that point, and just like bringing us all these great movies. It's just hard for me to get excited about like this random guy who hasn't done anything. That's nothing against him. He just hasn't established himself yet. So it's like, obviously, I'm not going to just be like jumping for joy. It's like, oh, this guy who did one other Marvel movie is directing X. And it's like, okay, cool, great. I mean, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. I don't really know, kind of don't really care. But like, I'll catch it on streaming because I do like X-Men. It's just like, unless like people are telling me like, okay, this is like on the level of X2, then maybe I'll go see it in the theater. But it's just like pirate it, catch it on streaming, something like that, because there's nothing, or maybe a trailer will convince me. I don't know. It's just like people I don't really know, like, helm to this thing. Okay, we got the production designer of a movie I didn't really care about all that much. The one hope I have is the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes Rider, which I really liked that movie, but that also had Francis Lawrence attached, and I really like Francis Lawrence as a director, so I don't know. It's just I don't know, it's just like it's just not exciting to me. And at least Jon Favreau directed like fucking Elf, like great movie. Like hello, like Cowboys and Aliens, not the greatest thing ever, but it was a lot of fun. Zathura was a lot of fun. I loved that as a kid, so it's like at least Jon Favreau still had some projects under his belt of like, okay, let's see where this guy goes. Um, I just it's
But
just
again,
indifference. I don't hate its existence. I don't do anything like that. I don't know. It's just like I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent. Like it's just okay. This guy I don't know that has no career. Okay, cool. All right. He's doing this
it's
movie.
too early. I mean, it's too early to tell. I mean, if you had anything to go off of, I think Thunderbolt. There's been a lot of other situations where I'd be less confident. I think of all the movies that you could have, plucked a director from to do something else in Marvel. Thunderbolts, I think, is a great starting point to then be able to say, okay, now go direct the X-Men movie. It's still a step up, but I mean, Kevin Feige from almost day one in the MCU has been giving artists who are probably underrated or not as well known a chance to step up and prove themselves, because he believes that if you're a good storyteller, then that will translate across multiple different stories. Like it's. I'm not saying that's a universal statement, but I understand the concept, the idea behind it. So I'm excited to see whether he does a good job or not. And the bar is going to be high because people have over 2 decades of X-Men movies to compare it to, and I don't think it needs to be the greatest thing that we have seen, an X-Men movie be, but it just needs to be good. I mean, Thunderbolts wasn't the best thing Marvel has ever put out there, but it's also not the worst. I felt like it was, compared to other recent offerings, it was certainly better than what we were getting for a little while from Marvel. So I mean, even though the bar you might say was pretty low, so but having said all that, I'm still excited to see what it does with the story.
I want newer, younger voices. I mean, there's people like like Robert Eggers, like newer, younger voice, has made nothing but A-lists, S-tier movies like his entire career. Like Oz Perkins,
Yeah.
another one, A-list director. Like that's a newer voice, and I have loved everything he's done. Like guys like that, and not just like guys who made one short film and then get fucking dragged into the MCU. It's just like, oh, okay. At least with like Destin Daniel Cretton, he made like he did like Short Term 12. He did like all these other really good movies. It's like he was at least like kind of established in
Right.
before he did all the, and then you had like John Watts, who did like 1 or 2 indie movies, maybe at most, that nobody remembers. And he's like, okay, you're doing Spider-Man. Like, what? At least with Cretton, like, he got handed Shang-Chi first. Like, okay, that's a character that, to be fair, no matter how great the movie is, that's a character nobody really knew and nobody really cared about. So it's like, okay, you get this little character. Can you do good things with that? Okay, we'll give you another project. Okay, he gets Wonder Man. Okay, you did really fucking good things with that, apparently. Now you get Spider-Man. Boom. There you go. It's like like Cretton, say we will about the guy, at least like there was some like kind of like he had a career beforehand. He gets 2 things that he did really well. Then he gets Spider-Man. Okay, that's an arc. It's Jake Schreier, some guy gets handed a team of people that nobody cares about, and then gets boom. Okay, you did an ensemble. Here's X-Men. Why do I care? Cretton, I'm interested in. And not just because he's Spider-Man. It's like, okay, he has established great things out of the MCU and established great things in the MCU. Boom, there we go. New voice, there you go. There is an arc. There is an uphill thing that, boom, it's good. Like that. Like Cretton, I'm interested in his voice. I'm interested with what he has to say. So, like I'm intrigued. Like Jake Schreier, I'm not intrigued. Is that a bad thing? I'm not intrigued. A trailer might convince me. behind the scenes pictures might convince me. Casting might convince me. I don't know. It's so fucking early. We don't even know if this is actually fucking coming out in 2028. Like, why are people getting on my fucking shit for this?
Okay.
Because I'm not sucking the mighty dick of Jake Schreier that, like, I have the gall to be like, maybe let's wait for things. Crazy. I know. Wow. Why am I being bullied for fucking everything? Why do I even do this fucking show? I should be like behind the scenes of just like picking the shit. Like I get like bullied for every fucking thing I do and say. God, like this is so fucking retarded. Fuck. And yeah, I said the R word. Fucking sue me. Yell at me for that. Fuck. All right, I'm fucking sick of talking about this shit. We're gonna fuck on to something else.
Okay,
Jesus fucking Christ.
Let's calm down. By the way, hello Fiona in the chat. Happy Friday, y'all. Hey, Fiona just gifted 5 memberships. That's awesome. Thank you, Fiona, for doing that. I hope you guys got one. John, we'll move on. Who's saying? I'm trying to deal with a cat who's just tearing up my couch right now. Anyway, we gotta get to the quick hits, like you said, John. Let's do the quick hits. So
let's make them quick. Let's make them actually quick this time around.
Quickies, as Caleb
Weapons
says.
director Zach Krieger apparently was given carte blanche to do whatever with Resident Evil, creating a movie not expected to feature any familiar story or characters. Hey, this is a new voice, a new young voice that I'm interested in. But this is the wrong thing to be interested in because everyone's gonna hate this because it sucks, because it doesn't follow Leon Kennedy's fucking journey that we've seen the past 10 games. But like, sure, whatever. I'm intrigued with this. I know OG fans are gonna be upset with this no matter what. Like the fans of this franchise are always gonna be upset no matter what you do. Zach Krieger be like, I'm gonna do a 1-to-1 adaptation of Resident Evil 2 with Leon Kennedy. People are going to be like, oh, you picked the wrong guy. You picked this. You did that. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to create a whole new, like, story in this world. But it's going to take place in the world, and it's going to affect other characters. Oh, why don't you just do the 1-to-1? It's like, no matter what, people are going to be upset. People are going to be mad. So I'm just like, you know what? I like Zach Krieger. I liked Barbarian. I loved Weapons. I'm excited for what he has in store. Maybe it helps that I'm not a Resident Evil fan, hasn't played any of the games, blah, blah, blah. But I'm excited to see this. I like Zach Krieger as a director. I'll see what he can do. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. Like, Zach Krieger hasn't really missed much. He said that this is not gonna feel like it's gonna be the video game brought to life, in the sense that it's not gonna follow that every little trademark of the games. But it's like Christopher Nolan made some of the best Batman movies of all time. Are they the most comic booky Batman movies ever? Probably not. So those two things can still work like apart from each other. You know what I mean? Like, I trust Zach Krieger. Like, I think he's earned it. So let's see what he does, and we can criticize it once it comes out if it doesn't work out. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So next up, not merger news. Don't worry. Warner Bros. Discovery joins Disney and Paramount in taking action against TikTok owner ByteDance over its C-Dance 2.0 AI tool. Warner Bros. Discovery made it personal, directing the cease and desist to former legal chief John Rogovin, now ByteDance's GC. Given your history with Warner Brothers, you understand the importance and value of our copyrighted works, including Superman and Batman. These characters are the lifeblood of the company. So yeah, remember, kiddos, the only thing that can destroy AI is corporate greed. We're not getting money for this? Well, we gotta go after them. I just love, like, the only thing that can destroy AI, as well as giving lifeblood to AI, is corporate greed. Go figure.
I mean, to be fair, like, the last time this happened, like, it was only weeks later that Disney signed a deal with OpenAI for Sora. So if you are right, then one of these studios will, like, maybe Paramount will or something. I don't know. They don't have many characters to work with anyway, so I don't think it would be them. But maybe Disney will pop up and do something similar again. But anyway, I certainly think there's a case to be made there in terms of, yeah, it is straight up copyright infringement. I'm sure you guys have come across the, some of the works that they've been creating on there, because not only was there like the big Brad Pitt versus Tom Cruise fight that somebody made, I've seen like some dude on Instagram put together like what they're calling like the continuation of the Snyderverse until Zack Snyder comes back and does it for realsies. And I'm like, guys, I get you want that stuff to happen, but maybe just like wait till they eventually make a comic book out of it or something. It's just because this is just copyright infringement. I mean, if Warner Brothers had a deal and this was an officially licensed thing, that'd be different. And not only that, but ByteDance, I mean, the MPA also sent them a cease and desist because they were like, this is straight up built into the software. It's not like a glitch that people are taking advantage of. You literally, like, it pretty much did exactly what OpenAI did, except OpenAI got a Disney deal out of it. And this is Chinese, so ByteDance won't, the optics of doing something similar with ByteDance, which also owns the OG TikTok, won't be the same. So maybe China can point at this and tell all Americans about the hypocrisy of it all, which they would be completely right to do so, because OpenAI did the exact same thing with Sora not too long ago. But anyway, now I don't want to get into the politics, but let's move on. I think that they're in the right pursuit for calling out ByteDance on this.
But next up, there is merger talk, but not Warner Brothers, but still with Paramount. Comcast and Paramount may merge as both struggle with streaming. Yeah, could have fucking told you that. But with how both have been going kind of on the rickety scale of streaming, they might just become one at this point due to just all the circumstances of like bleeding money and yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't know if
well, I think this is more speculation, but it's good analysis at the same time, because Comcast and Paramount both need scale. They need scale in the business sense, where they have assets, they have content, they have IP, they have franchises. But when you compare that to Netflix's dominant position as a big player with like the biggest subscriber base in streaming, or you look at the level of IP that Disney has accumulated over the years between Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar and all the original like Disney IP that they've had, like all the stories, the animated movies that they do, the Pirates franchise, Tron and blah 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 blah. I mean, Lilo and Stitch made like billions in just merchandise alone last year. And then Warner Brothers, they have the next best trove of IP. We talk about all the time between DC and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and X, Y, and Z. Paramount and Comcast look kind of small. Like, you can kind of count most of their franchises on maybe two hands, or like certainly the big ones. So like, because this assumes that Paramount wouldn't end up with Warner Brothers. And I get it. Like, I think we're going to see more consolidation, and Comcast they bid on Fox before Disney ended up buying it. They only helped drive up the price of Fox for Disney by like $20 billion. They were in the process of bidding early on for Warner Brothers, but they stepped away because they thought it was too expensive. But Brian Roberts, the co-CEO of Comcast, eventually, if they're going to do anything about all of this, then I think they will need to maybe, fork up the cash, and maybe in this case, maybe I don't know if Paramount is going to want to be acquired per se, because David Ellison is trying to do the opposite of that. But maybe Comcast decides they're going to want to get out of the television movie business entirely and just focus on their internet services. And then if that happens, then maybe Paramount buys NBC Universal. So we'll see.
Yeah. But next up, Neon, Oscar-winning studio behind Parasite Nora, in talks to sell stake to Department M. So they're a production company founded a couple years ago by Mike LaRocca and Michael Schaefer, is in talks to acquire a significant stake in Neon. A consortium of private investors is backing Department M in the effort, according to two sources with knowledge of the negotiations. Department M was financed by private investors when it was launched in 2024. So they previously explored a sale in 2022, but a deal with investor Stephen Rails failed to materialize. So, maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe this will be a bad thing. I have no clue. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Neon. It's kind of like A24. Like, they're successful, but they're not quite super profitable, so they need more money. I think there was speculation maybe A24 and Neon might look at a merger at one point, but I'm not surprised that they're looking to get more investment in the door because they want to keep growing. A24 is deciding to release bigger movies. That's risky business, you know, ultimately. Pardon the pun. But yeah, I totally get this. They need the money. Making movies is expensive and not everything hits. So
Yeah. But next up, Percy Jackson cast Ming-Na Wen, Jennifer Beals, and Hubert, not going to even try to pronounce that name, as Hera, Demeter, and Apollo in season 3. So we are going to be getting more and more for the Percy Jackson show. And best of luck to them because, you know, Ming-Na Wen's always great. Jennifer Beals, I'm not as familiar with, and I don't even know Hubert. You know,
wait, you don't know Jennifer Beals?
No, I'm like kind of familiar with her a little bit. Hubert Smilecki? Smilecki? I think Smilecki's right.
That you lost me on that, but yeah. But
you know, I don't know anything about him, but I know the other two, and I'm sure they'll be great.
Yeah. Again, this show just keeps getting the best reviews, so power to them, and keep on keeping on. So.
Although I will say it is kind of funny that for a Greek goddess they grab a Asian woman, and I'm like, okay. I just think that's kind of funny. Like, not like it really matters because it's all fictional, but like I just think it's kind of funny. Anyway, but next up,
I wasn't paying attention
Paddington
to that,
Bear
so.
joins lineup of presenters at BAFTA Film Awards. Hell yeah. Way to go, Paddington. I hope he's voiced by Ben Whishaw, because that would be great.
This was one of the best things I saw. I'm like, yes, perfect. That will be the one award presenter that I actually would care for. So yeah, can't wait.
Exactly. Paddington is always a win.
Always a win.
But next up, speaking of casting stuff, Mads Mikkelsen closes deal to join Leo and Jennifer Lawrence in What Happens at Night at Apple. Apparently it's Martin Scorsese's upcoming feature. It will, he adapted from the novel of the same name by Peter Cameron. The scripts are being written by Patrick Marber, and Scorsese will direct and produce. And Patricia Clarkson is also on board. So yeah, sounds like an interesting story. I'd watch it because Scorsese is a goat. So yeah.
I'm still waiting for the Kool-Aid movie, but I'll settle for this while they work on that. So, yeah.
But another thing is Emma Mackey exits Nancy Meyer's Warner Brothers movie. But yeah, she was set to star in this, but had to leave due to scheduling conflicts. But she is going to be in J.J. Abrams' next movie, if you still care about J.J. Abrams, as well as The Magician's Nephew for the upcoming start of the new Narnia franchise. So.
Yeah, I get it. She's got a lot on her plate, and you gotta make your choices.
Hopefully, Mads Mikkelsen won't be fucking wasted here, like he is in every other American-made movie. So
Yep. Keep on keeping on.
But next up, Viola Davis tackling adaptation of Afro fantasy graphic novel The Untamed. She is going to be producing the film. And will be an adaptation, The Untamed: A Sinner's Prayer. So yeah, it's a revenge fantasy indie franchise. So I'm cool with that. That sounds fucking awesome.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
We need more fantasy stuff like that. Isn't just Game of Thrones spinoffs and Lord of the Rings spinoffs. Just give us something new. Like, I'd fucking watch the hell out of this.
It sounds exciting, and she did The Woman King. I'd love to see more of this. I think she's also in that other really big movie that's coming out next year. It's like a big fantasy book series. I think she's in that. Somebody's gonna know this. We've talked about it on the show before. It's got like a totally like all-star cast, and it's focused on like an African story. Anyway, when I remember it, I'll mention it. But yeah, Viola Davis, I think using her platform to tell stories like this is good to see. And Blood and Bone, yes, Enterprising. Thank you, Blood and Bone. Good shout. Yes, so I can't wait to see what this turns into. Yeah, The Untamed.
Then finally, speaking of fantasy stuff, HBO's Harry Potter TV series has cast a second Ron Weasley for season 1. All of the, book readers and maybe people who remember the first movie, when Ron looks into the mirror of Erised, he sees himself as, captain of the Quidditch team and the head boy, and he's like, all my dreams are coming true. And obviously it seems like they are actually going to show that this time around. And I believe that the person in question is going to be Lewis Shelton. And he's going to be, going to be showcased in the Mirror of Erised rather than just Ron explaining it. So, which could be an interesting sequence. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited again in all the different ways that they will expand the mythos of Harry Potter. Hope, not just kind of giving more airtime to stuff that we didn't get to see in the movies because, a movie can only be so long. But I also want to see, more of this kind of stuff where we kind of, and seeing like the Draco Malfoy's like home life thing was like, yes, I would love to see that because that sounds incredibly exciting and something that, would, I don't know, maybe make him a little more like empathetic of a character, but at the same time, it's still Draco Malfoy. So like, anyway, let's keep on going.
Well, that can't keep on going because
that's it. Those are the quick hits
for the quick hits. So,
all right.
Thanks for watching the news side of things. Obviously, we have DCU stuff to get into now, but that's not until after this wonderful little intro with our, with our leader James Gunn wishing us
a brave leader,
the blessed of time. So let's get into this side of the show that's truly #blessed.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That
okay. We don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka.
Hello, everybody. Whoop, there we go. Welcome to the show. We are here to talk about all things DC. We got movie news, comic news, TV news, quick hits, all the things to talk about. And then, of course, out of all the things we're talking about, Dan, what are you excited to talk about today?
I mean, I want to talk about like the updates that James Gunn gave us because he was like, dude, I leave the internet for a few days and it's like all of a sudden, misinformation is running rampant. So let me set the record straight. So I mean, I definitely want to get into that stuff. And then of course, I mean, after I'm literally working on the thumbnail right now. After we're done with DCU Daily, we got Fancast Friday. We're going to be doing Ana de Armas in the DCU. So excited for all the DC stuff, but especially what James Gunn was talking about.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But Dan, always at the top of DCU Daily, we gotta get into the quick hits, the Parrots, Ducks, Pelicans of DCU news. So here we are talking about apparently James Gunn, according to Daniel RPK, saying that we're not going to be getting Brave and the Bold for a good long while because apparently, much like DC back in the mid-2000s, they're like, hey, let's not have two Batmen on screen because of reasons. Because I guess James Gunn hates money. I don't know. Like, yes, let's not have two versions of the biggest character we have because reasons. Now, who knows? Daniel RPK could be totally bullshitting. He could be saying, oh, source says this. I mean, James Gunn hasn't debunked it, so maybe it is possible that he doesn't want to see two Batman on the screen, Robert Pattinson and whoever is picked for Brave and the Bold.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm kind of not. It's just like it doesn't. Like, one, people are not stupid. I think they could discern like, oh yeah, this guy's different from the the Robert Pattinson, and then it's like, imagine 2 Batman on the big screen. You're gonna be rolling in billions. Like, what the fuck you mean? You don't want 2 Batman? Makes no sense. I don't know. Maybe that's just my thought. Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you. I think with a lot of other storytellers in a similar position or executives like a co-CEO, I would say sure, I get it. Like, but James Gunn isn't built the same way. He's one of the fans. He's actually somebody who, who not only is a fan himself, but he also respects the intelligence of the fans. Like he knows that a lot of us can differentiate between, one iteration of Batman and another iteration of Batman running concurrently. The Flash came out not that far apart from the Batman movie, and the Flash itself had like 2 different Batmen in it. And then of course the Batman had Robert Pattinson in it. So it's not even like something that's unproven. Like, we know it can work. People are able to, differentiate between the two. Now, of course, the success or failure of one or the other will depend more so on like, how good or bad that story is. And that's a different thing entirely. And James Gunn, really has a lot more say over that, and he knows that. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe that this would be something that James Gunn would have said out loud. No less like that's his approach. But I'm sure we're going to address this later on, because I'm sure this is a setup to something that we'll talk about later on in the show. But I mean, Daniel RPK doesn't get everything right. Yeah, he's built different. Like, he's not like your average, Hollywood executive who's just gonna, see superheroes superficially. Like, he wants to protect the DC IP against abuse. That was one of the first things that he said that he wanted to do when he walked in, because he was like, over the years, for better or for worse, Warner Brothers were just sort of like willy-nilly giving anybody a chance to do Batman movies, or like, he didn't say Batman movies specifically, but just, like, he's like, we're gonna protect this IP and treat it with the respect that it deserves. So I can't imagine that same James Gunn, looking at something like this and saying, oh yeah, we gotta wait till that Batman is, done and dusted before we even think about doing another iteration in the DCU. Because who knows how long it's gonna take Matt Reeves to work on a 3rd Batman movie, John. Like, we might all be old by then. Like, you might be 65, I might be 80. Who knows? Like, it's the pace at which Matt Reeves goes, like, there's like it might be like 2050 by the time we get a 3rd. I don't think James Gunn is going to wait that long to give us a new Batman in the DCU. So
no,
that alone,
I don't think so either. I think this is Daniel RPK is hit and miss for a reason. I think this is a miss from him. I don't think this is true at all. It's either, bullshit insider talk or misinterpreted or something like that. But I don't think this is true. So. But speaking of the Batman Part 2, apparently it's going to begin filming in late May. That seems to be around the same time that, that what was talked about, because I think it was like, oh, it's maybe because I know we talked about a while ago that like B-roll, like second unit filming was like starting in March maybe. And then April, May is when like official real like production with like Matt Reeves directing and all these guys like making it. So yeah, I think this sounds about right.
Yeah. No, it does sound right, because I think, are we going to get into it later? I don't know if you have a separate thing for this, but there was reporting that, well, because Robert Pattinson is in the Odyssey, and he'll be doing a promotional tour for that, which is part of his contract. But I think they're going to be able to work around that schedule. Like, I think they've already worked on a schedule. Well, obviously the production schedule for the Batman Part 2 is likely already in place, if not like, almost done being in place. Like, they've got the dates, they know when they're going to have Robert Pattinson on set. And so they would have made sure that they kept his promotional schedule for the Odyssey in mind while making plans for when they're gonna have him available to come, because obviously like his representation would have been like, yeah, he's not available on these dates, so it makes sense that they will start filming in late May. I think that's still a little bit later than we were expecting, but that might be just all the the first unit photography, because like second unit stuff I think is already going to be starting in like March or April, where they're going to be shooting some stunts and stuff, which is what they did with the first Batman movie. Some of the sort of first things we saw, the first time we got a look at the Battinson suit was the stunt version when he was like doing the whole graveyard thing in Liverpool, I think it was, and some of the stuff they shot in Glasgow. So and then they released that whole little like brooding suit videos, the official suit reveal. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see something from the movie behind the scenes shooting in the UK before May. But yeah, I mean, the filming with the actors will probably start in May, so I believe it. It makes sense.
Yeah. But in terms of other such news, apparently the runtime for Supergirl breaks a 6-year DC rule because apparently the movie allegedly is going to be 1 hour, less than 2 hours, and the last time that happened was 2020's Birds of Prey. So it seems like that we are going to be getting something around, like, I would assume the like 1 hour 50 to 1 hour 55 mark. I can imagine it's probably going to be around 2 hours, but like not quite. So
I could see that. And I what's the difference? Like 10-15 minutes on average, an hour 49. Every movie has a runtime that's perfect for it. If it's less than 2 hours, then great. I mean, 120. I mean, John, you saw Birds of Prey. You weren't very happy about it. It was less than 2 hours.
I never saw Birds of Prey. I just
you didn't?
Took one look at that movie. I'm like, nope, I'm okay.
The way you talk about it, I'd imagine you saw it and you were like, that was a waste of my 2 hours of my life. But I mean, a lot of people had mixed opinions about it. I didn't think it was particularly good. It had its moments. I enjoyed some of the I thought Ewan McGregor did really well. But again, he was sort of stuck in a movie where like he's clearly like, doing his best while the movie's writing sort of let it down in a lot of ways. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that Supergirl's. I mean, again, also the runtime being under 2 hours. It's Peter Safran talking about it while also saying that they're still working on the movie. So the final runtime may still be longer, or it could be shorter. He was just kind of talking about currently, or like this. And when he said currently, this is a little while ago, like you said, John. So where it's at today, we don't know, but. You could have a 2 hour long movie that flies by. You could also have a 3 hour, like you can have a 1.5 hour movie that takes forever to slog through. So we just hope that Supergirl is the former.
Well,
and
the
not
closest
the
was Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was with 2 hour 4 minutes, but yeah.
And that was, there were times in that movie where I was looking at the clock.
Fuck, I don't even remember that. Fuck.
Which one?
Jeez, it's fucking Wonder Woman 1984 was 2.5 hours long. I didn't even fucking realize that. Jesus.
But see, that's my point though. Like that, it didn't feel like it, right? Like, so I think that's a good sign. Like that they managed to make that movie just fly by, despite the fact that I thought the third act kind of, jumped the shark. Probably could have done that a little differently, better, and whatever. But it is what it is. So. But anyway. Yeah. I'm going.
Then our final little quick hit. Apparently, promotion for HBO's Lanterns is set to start soon, which makes sense because it's allegedly coming out in August-ish, towards the end of the summer. So, yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, we've gotten stuff for Supergirl, so it seems like we're getting stuff for the thing after. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's also. When you look at like the timeline of promotions for a TV show versus a movie, usually for a movie like the scale of Supergirl, like a Spider-Man Brand New Day, you would start seeing marketing probably 5-6 months before the movie comes out. For TV shows, you tend to start seeing that kind of like marketing effort really pick up a couple of months before the show starts releasing. So this lines up really well because they're saying it's going to come out late summer. So that could be as early as late July to maybe as late as early September, depending on what, I don't know if September really counts as summer time, but yeah, it would make sense, that they will start marketing it fairly soon. There's also London TV screenings, which is another upfront event happening in London next week. I don't think Warner Brothers Television there is going to be showcasing any of the scripted television stuff. It's mostly their unscripted stuff. So I don't think Lanterns will be showing a trailer there. But I mean, they showed a trailer in Sao Paulo not too long ago. It just never made it onto the internet. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a trailer out for this, maybe like once Night of the Seven Kingdoms ends. Before I don't think the next season of Last of Us comes out this year. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a trailer in the next few weeks for Lanterns, or maybe we wait a couple of months. Who knows? So yeah.
But yeah, that's it for our quick hits. Now we're gonna get into the comic side of things. Lots of comics news, surprisingly. With the first bit of it being the next issue of Batman and Superman World's Finest, there is going to be a little bit of a twist on it. It's actually apparently going to be following Ultraman and Owlman. It's going to explore their relationship on Earth 3, their backstories, what it means, what they are. So yeah, definitely going to be getting an interesting insight into the darker side of the DC universe with Owlman and Ultraman, which that's exciting because I always liked the idea of like, even though the multiverse is kind of tired now, I did always like the idea of it being about, just like, what if it went this way? What if it went like something so different? Just like, like, oh, what if like the idea of like evil and good was reversed and favored evil? Oh, I guess maybe we are on Earth 3. The world favors evil rather than good. Yeah, I think we're on Earth 3. That's why we haven't gotten a Superman yet, because we're waiting for Ultraman. So, yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, this seems cool. I might have to start reading this, because this sounds interesting as fucking. Plus, Mark Waid's writing it. Mark Waid's always a win. So,
I'll be right.
Okay, so yeah. Really cool issue. I might have to start reading this one, because I mean, people in the comments have said it's really good. So, yeah. Mirror Universe. I see what you did there. Too bad Dan isn't here to appreciate that Star Trek reference. But next up is Absolute Robin. Apparently now we know that Absolute Robin will make his debut in Absolute Batman number 20. How that's going, who it's going to be, gender established, non-established. I think this is pretty cool. I've always wanted to see what even though I don't read the series, I'm always curious like how they look or are differently in that. So, or no, am I thinking of the different? Oh, I might be thinking of a different Mark. It's I think it was like Earth 1, Batman and Robin. It was, yeah, I forget where it was, but I got it for free with Legend of the Kingdom Come. But Mark Waid was writing it. It was something about Batman and Robin. I forget what it was specifically called. But yeah, so seems like we're going to be getting Absolute Robin, which is cool. Like, awesome. Not a huge bit of news, but like, we just don't know what he'll look like. I don't think he'll look like this or, like this, but I do love the interesting picture, so there's that. But yeah, good fun stuff, and I don't know why there's a furry in the chat, but okay. Next up, we have Absolute Green Arrow. Apparently, Absolute Green Arrow is coming soon. Even though Oliver Queen is dead in the Absolute universe, seems like he is maybe coming back. Oh, who knows? We'll see. But this is the logo for the time being, and May of 2026 is when Green Arrow will be coming into the fold. So that's definitely really exciting, because we all thought he was dead, but apparently in this case, it's going to be a 6-issue limited series. It's going to be by Pornsak Pichochete and Raphael Albuquerque, probably butchering those names. The first issue will release on May 20th, and it takes place after the murder of Oliver Queen. I think it was Absolute Batman he got killed in. But yeah, the story is apparently going to follow Absolute Black Canary as she tracks a serial killer that's targeting billionaires. Why you would want to stop someone like that is beyond me, but maybe there's a good in-universe reason as to why Black Canary wants to stop someone who's doing the good of the people. But, very curious on how that's going to work. So, yeah, considering that it's Absolute Green Arrow, but there's no Green Arrow unless Black Canary takes the form of Green Arrow, unless Green Arrow is the villain. I don't know. It's weird, but it's curious. I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm ever gonna read the Absolute line. I just am like, I don't know. It just seems like grimdark, edgy crap, but that's just me. But in terms of the last bit of comic book news, this is the first look of Clark and Peter of themselves in the upcoming Superman Spider-Man crossover that's going to be it's going to come out March 25th. You can pre-order it until March 2nd. So if you want to do that, then by all means. But yeah, this is the look at our favorite DC reporter and our favorite Marvel reporter. So this is awesome to see. I hope that it seems like Star Labs is making an appearance, and honestly, I'm intrigued with this because it's like, are they going to do like Peter is on DC's world, or it's just a world where the both of them exist? I don't know. I prefer the latter, but that's just me. Well, yeah, he's Superman. Of course he is. But this looks awesome. I'd actually read this. Unfortunately, you have to wait another month for it, but I'd actually go out and read this because this looks awesome. But that's it for the comic book side of things. Yeah, because apparently Peter and Clark have their moms have the same name, so they have to fight. But the next thing and the final bit we have before we go into Fancast Friday, and that is, of course, what did Gunn say? Gunn had a lot to say, especially the thing that's in the title of this video, but we will get to that soon enough. The first thing he said was about Gorilla Grodd, because Gorilla Grodd apparently made his comic debut in The Flash, number 106 today, and written by John Broome, by Carmine Infantino, and Joe Giellerum, with pencils by Infantino and inks by Joe Giella. So happy birthday, belated birthday to Gorilla Grodd. So hell yeah, love to see it. And DC Film News being like, that's kind of interesting. And people are, of course, in the comments like, oh, you're mentioning Gorilla Grodd, and Gorilla Grodd was confirmed for the upcoming Jimmy Olsen show. So it's like, oh, are we getting that? Are we getting that? Does this mean something? Probably not. He's probably just celebrating a birthday. That's all. But yeah, James Gunn celebrating probably one of the Flash's greatest adversaries. Maybe not his greatest, but definitely one of the greatest. Because who doesn't like a gigantic telepathic gorilla? But then there's a bit of this, which is kind of an insight into James Gunn as a person. He's like, what's your favorite movie poster? I spend so much of my time making movies, I don't have much movie stuff in my house, preferring to surround myself with post and pop surrealist paintings and photos of loved ones. But this poster by Frank Frazetta is the exception, hanging in my rec area, and might be my all-time favorite. And he's like, post your favorite below. And it's this fucking weird movie I've never even heard of, Clint Eastwood's The Gauntlet. I don't even fucking know what this is about. But why is this being brought up into what did Gunn say? It's just a random movie poster. Why are we talking about this? Well, somebody commented below because they asked the famous fan account attributed to the comment section of this is Cobra Kai Never Dies 11. Is it true that Man of Tomorrow starts filming in a few weeks And James Gunn has said, by a strict definition of few, no, because usually a few weeks means 3 weeks, few means couple is 2, few is 3, several is 5. That's kind of the rule of thumb in regards to numeral things that are not specifically numbered. So,
Right.
you know,
I mean, soon, but few weeks is probably a not the best way to describe it. So
right.
fair enough.
But cool poster. You know?
I agree, 100%.
But now we get into the big story of what did Gunn say, and that's, you know, if Man of Tomorrow was given a new title, but this isn't what the major thing of this article is about. Lars Eidinger did talk about this, so we're going to talk about that and then go into the rest of the story. Daisho Meet Chris, he was telling an interviewer about him as Brainiac. He's like, for me, it's a true miracle. It's truly a miracle that it happened. I would venture to say that every actor, every actress in Germany, there is a secret hope that one day the call from Hollywood will come. I always thought, I'm 50 now. Okay, that's it. Then it suddenly happened, and it all went relatively quickly, didn't it? I really can hardly believe it, but it's not then like snap, and you're sitting on a beach in LA. First, we'll film the movie. I'm very excited. So that's nice to see in regards to that, because the other bit of this in Variety that showcase the big thing everyone's talking about is that apparently Man of Tomorrow is being renamed to Superman Man of Tomorrow, which is maybe true, maybe not true. Hold on, let me just pull up the article if I can. People stop fucking messaging me. But it says here, where are you? In a few weeks on Superman Man of Tomorrow. So people are like, huh, did Man of Tomorrow get a title change? And the entire internet was like, oh my God, the title is changing. The title is changing, guys. Oh my God. Turns out it's bullshit. Yeah. James Gunn had to come out and say, nope, not true. This is literally just a typo on Variety's part, and that's it. And he also debunks the other part of this. It's set to begin in a few weeks, which is what I think this gentleman was talking about. Will it start filming in a few weeks? And he's like, by strict definition, a few. No. So he debunked eventually 2 things that was said right here. So, nope, it's not going to be called Superman Man of Tomorrow. It's just going to be Man of Tomorrow. That's it. He has said the reason why. And the reasoning as to why is that it's not just a Superman movie. It is a Lex Luthor Superman movie. It is a co-lead. It's going to be the 2 of them. So it's going to be about the original Man of Tomorrow, which was Lex Luthor. He was the man who was destined to be the Man of Tomorrow. And then Superman comes in and becomes the true Man of Tomorrow. And so it's about the both of them being men of tomorrow and how they deal with that. So, yeah.
I mean, they also represent like 2 very different ideals of that.
Yes.
You know? Not in a sense. So,
because you're saying Superman, Man of Tomorrow. You're saying man twice. It's like it would be like calling Man of Steel Superman, Man of Steel. It just doesn't. You're saying man twice. Like at least with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, you're not calling it Supergirl, Girl of Tomorrow, where you're saying it twice. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, overly long. I'm glad they changed it to just Supergirl. But at least that's not as awkward to say. You're saying Superman, man, like it's Superman, man. No way. It's like, is he like the man? Is like he's not just a Superman. He's a Superman, man. Too confusing. Just keep a Man of Tomorrow, and that's what James Gunn's saying. So yeah, he's not fast tracking anything. He's like, I tried to avoid the colons. It's a mistake. So yeah. It's not gonna be It's not gonna be Superman Man of Tomorrow. It's just going to be Man of Tomorrow. So y'all can sleep a little bit easier tonight.
I mean, I also appreciate that he doesn't like the whole colons thing. I kind of like also love that in terms of movie titles. I'm tired of like the whole with Marvel. I think under Kevin Feige, they've sort of gone used to almost from an early era of Marvel, like Captain America, the first Avenger, and like so it's always been part of the MCU. Whereas on the DC side of things, you had Man of Steel, you had Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice is the most egregious version of that. So I'd much rather like a simpler title, Man of Tomorrow. Usually, where those kind of titles come from are for the marketing team because they're like, you want to put Batman and Superman in the title because you want to tell people they're in the movie, even though they are splattered all over the posters and the marketing material anyway. So
right.
I like the way James Gunn approaches this stuff, and the fact that he's able to do that because he's the studio head.
For me, if you need a colon, have it be a sequel, because it like, but like, okay, it's a little bit weird because it's like, I don't think there should be a colon for movies that already exist, because Superman. Well, what Superman you talking about? You talking about the Christopher Reeve one? Are you talking about this one? Which one are you talking about? Oh, you got it, because you have to say Superman 2025 or James Gunn Superman or Superman with David. You have to specify. You have to go because the thing is, it's not just like, oh, I'm watching Superman right now. Well, which one are you fucking watching right now? So then you have to clarify. It's the one with David Cornswell or it's the one with Christopher Reeve, and that's where because it's more like, I don't want to say there's nuance to it, but it's just like there are both sides to, like, I do kind of agree with James Gunn a little bit, but I do like the idea of saying, instead of saying, oh, I'm watching Spider-Man, instead, like, I'm watching The Amazing Spider-Man or Spider-Man Homecoming. So you can differentiate between each first movie or each sequel, like Spider-Man 2. Oh, which Spider-Man 2 you watch? Well, no, there's just one Spider-Man 2. It is with Tobey Maguire, because then the other ones are The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Far From Home, or if you're lucky enough to get to the third movie, it's Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home. So I do like that. However, it can be kind of confusing. It's like, oh, well, which one comes first? No Way Home, Far From Home, Homecoming, because there's no Spider-Man 2 Far From Home. So it's a whole mess of like what to name the movie. It's gonna be a fucking rigmarole annoyance no matter what way you do it. It's either confusing for previous movies, like with Superman, or it's a title that's way too fucking long, like Spider-Man Homecoming. It's like too many syllables. It's just a mess of words. It's like, instead of like Doctor, because here's the thing. That's the thing that annoys me about Doctor Strange. Like, just call it Doctor Strange 2. There's no other Doctor Strange 2. You don't have, the only Doctor Strange you have to worry about is the fucking TV movie from the 70s nobody fucking remembers. That's the only one you have to worry about. Nobody's which Doctor Strange? Nah, there's only one Doctor Strange I'm watching. It's the Benedict Cumberbatch one. Okay, so why call it Doctor Strange in the multiverse of, like, it's too, just call it Doctor Strange 2. Just call it, or call it Doctor Strange's Madness. I don't fucking know. That's a better fucking title than In the Multiverse of it. When you're past like 10 syllables, it's like it's over. Everyone's calling it Doctor Strange 2 now because it's a stupid title.
I mean, it's also, you see it like anytime what the marquee says, I feel like is usually a good reflection, right? Because like they also, if they have to shorten your movie down to like 3 words, yeah, it's the whole like the Birds of Prey thing
Caleb
too.
Brings up another point. I remember they on marquees they had to call it Harley Quinn : Birds of Prey, because instead of just calling it Birds of Prey, because or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, you have to fucking do this whole rigmarole title because like it's really a Harley Quinn movie. Even though it has the Birds of Prey in it, you can't just call it Birds of Prey because Margot Robbie doesn't get her ego stroking dick off. So you have to throw in Harley Quinn in that fucking title. So you call it Harley Quinn, or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. It's simple, but no, you have to fucking do this like annoying, pretentious fucking title with Birds of Prey and the title that nobody on planet Earth is actually going to say. It's ridiculous. Makes no sense. Like, at least with like, I like, what I like when you do it the Harry Potter way. Like, ignoring the quality of the movies is not about the quality of the movies. Like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Not a good movie, great title though, because it's not Aquaman the Lost Kingdom, it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It flows a little bit better.
Right.
It's a lot of syllables, but it's a little bit more forgivable there. So, just remove just make it flow a little bit. Maybe not always have a colon. Like, for instance, whenever they do like the question, don't call it like the question colon the dark side of Vic Sage or something like that. Just call it the question. There's no other question adaptation. Just call it the question. You don't have to fucking do it. So I agree with James Gunn a little bit, but it can be annoying if it's a popular character that has been adapted in the past. Like, what are you going to call a new Wonder Woman movie? You're just going to call it Wonder Woman. Well, which Wonder Woman movie you watching? You watching the Gal Gadot version or the, hopefully, Audrey Arjona version? But it's it's just like it can be a little bit. I can see what Kevin Feige is doing with it, but I can also see James Gunn's side. I agree with both for very different situations, and it kind of just depends on the movie, what it's about, what it involves, and like trying to like work with that. I know this is like way too long to be talking about fucking titles of movies, but
No,
that would be funny.
It's a marketing conversation as much as it is a storytelling conversation. Some movies can have a long name and that'd be perfect for them. I think for these like mass appeal blockbuster movies, it tends to be better when I think the two schools of thought, like you said, and because for example, the second Aquaman movie, a lot of marquees just said Lost Kingdom, and you sort of knew what that was. And you see Aquaman in the poster, right? So that works. Or if you just call the first one was just Aquaman, love the title, or I'm pretty sure Ben Affleck's Batman movie was, I mean, again, they never truly officially named it, but it would have probably been just Batman. No, not the, I think it was it the Batman?
No, it was supposed to be called The Batman.
Was it gonna? I thought we were just gonna go with Batman, like which worked for me.
It was supposed to be The Batman, and then when Matt Reeves took it over, it went from Ben Affleck's The Batman to Matt Reeves' The Batman, and then he fucking dropped everything and made it his own thing, but kept the title. So, but it works. The Batman. Which Batman movie you're watching? The Batman. I know exactly which one you're watching. You're watching the Robert Pattinson one instead of like I'm watching Batman. You can pretty much discern like, okay, you're probably watching the Tim Burton one. So I appreciate that about the Batman movies, is that you have Batman, Batman Returns, Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, Dark Knight. It's all different, so I appreciate that. And then you had Superman, it was 1 through 4, Returns, which was confusing, but like fucking Bryan Singer made that fucking confusing for no reason. And then Man of Steel, okay, that's helpful because, like they're trying to copy the whole Dark Knight thing. So like, let's do the Dark Knight thing, but for Superman, Man of Steel, boom, perfect. That's why I think like if you do another Batman movie, that's why I like Brave and the Bold, because Brave and the Bold, people can like, okay, that's probably Batman because one, they knew of the Diedrich Bader show back in the 2010s. That was Brave and the Bold, as well as the comic book series that it's taking the name from. And Brave and the Bold, yeah, you could probably like, okay, that's probably Batman.
Yeah.
So, or like you can do also, Cape Crusader. Cape Crusader's another one that would be really good for a Batman movie
because it's a nickname. Like people know what that is.
That's
people
why
know
Man of Tomorrow
they associate
works. Man of Tomorrow, like I always
or Man of Steel.
Like
I thought Man of Steel also worked for that.
Yeah, Man of Tomorrow works. I would say The Last Son of Krypton would be a really cool title for a Superman movie. So or like. I don't know what you would name, like Princess of Themyscira. I don't really know what you would do for like an alternate Wonder Woman title, but like,
what she know is she's what is the Wonder Woman nickname? But that's the thing. I think it works well for more well-known characters than it does for like ones that have only had a couple of iterations, because it relies on our shared awareness, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's a better way to put it, but you know what I mean. Like it's if we know, like when you say Cape Crusader, I say Batman. You say Man of Steel, I say Superman. But or you say web slinger, I say Spider-Man. Although web slinger is probably not a good idea for a title, but you get my riff. So yeah, but it doesn't quite translate across, I think, the lesser known characters. Plus some characters just sort of work well, with like the Flash. Just call it the Flash. I hope when they make a DCU movie about the Flash that they just call it the Flash.
I would say call it the Scarlet Speedster. That could be good. That would be a good name for it. Or the Crimson Comet. I think no, not Crimson Comet. Well, there was like Crimson something was the nickname for one of the Flashes, so that could work.
Yeah.
Too.
Diana of Themyscira could work too, but it's again, this is the whole it's an SEO conversation on the internet, but from a marketing standpoint, movie titles more often than not are decided by the marketing team of like these big blockbusters. But James Gunn being co-CEO, like he gets to dictate those terms a lot more than most directors will be able to do. So I'm glad that he's able to sort of like have his way there, and I think he's on the right track. That doesn't mean you will never have a movie in the DCU that will have not have a colon in the name. It just means that out the door, pretty much everything so far doesn't, which is good to see. But yeah, and on that note, I think we'll probably wrap up DCU Daily here so that we can
not
get
enough
to
questions for a Q&A.
Fancast
Apologies,
Friday, yeah.
guys, but shit happens. But thank you for watching DCU Daily today. We are going to be moving into Fancast Friday. Give us a couple minutes, and we will be doing that very soon. And with all of that said and done, let's be blessed at the end as well as at the beginning. So see you soon for Fancast Friday.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
And remember, fuck Jeff Snyder, fuck Tom King, and